police car and bust on the police instead of your brother. I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster, 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 gangster.
Black power my ass, y'all just playing the ass, posing, frontin', no bustin' or dirty cock gun button. At least more's right, rich, trying to do something. Pen as my weapon, feathers up and turbans, no bluffing. Don't get it twisted, sort of more get handcuffing. Judges dismiss cases, prosecutors cussing, telling my guys recuse themselves or get sued. Civil rights leaders got conscious blacks marching on news, stopping traffic of people that didn't kill their sons and daughters. In Canaanland we call y'all bright and out of order. Nationality has me awake like a sleep disorder, while most wear blinders, my peripherals broader. For the record, I'd sweating nervous court recorders in Admiralty maritime shores. Moors walk on water, engines return with mental cures, no sight blurred, while they stay killing their minds and saying they learn.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster, gangster, gangster.
Your forefathers had names before they became slaves. Seems like today it's only nicknames and pain. You should be learning so pain could stop from these vermin. German Nazi Inquisitionists enslaving with sermons. Declared independence, still giving Moors reverence. Talking treaties with Muslims at Oval Office entrance. Into the entrance masses, keep them docile and passive. Killing them, corralling blacks, acting like hostile fascists. Take oaths to break them, unless it's from the lodge. They give profits, we take them and neglect ancestors. Playing Mr. Tuffy, smoking a Dutch from the same master. Bullies stealing your money for lunch. Wanna drink from their bowl cause they spike their punch. With Clorox, I'm not guessing, but I have a hunch. I can say I stand up to mercenary punks, while you Facebook posing with Glocks cocked and shotguns pumped.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster, 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 gangster.
If you got guns and use them on targets moving. Try KKK badge carriers in your hood cruising. I'm not promoting violence, it's a point I'm proving. Moore's methods do work, but coons disapproving. Khalid calling you out, but you're attacking the sheep and wanna show me how good you are with your hands and feet. Never challenge a cop when they arresting your brother, but will wear hoods and hold skittles one after another. Acting with lethal weapons, you Mel Gibsons and Glovers. Shot in the back of watching you suffer. Black standing on corners in seconds, life smothered. She forgave him for her son's death, but listen to mother. Listen to common, exercising his five senses. To end racism, stop looking through racial lenses. Look at constitutional, not civil defenses. Stop marching, the only thing that pickets is fences.
Why you don't pull up on the passenger side of the police car and bust on the police instead of your brother? I've never heard of it. You say you're a gangster, gangster, gangster,
Islam wars. Let us rise and give our honors. Face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
To his holy prophet.
To his holy prophet.
Noble True Ali.
Noble True Ali.
Islam.
Islam.
Before we start, as usual, we got to get our readings in to be read every meeting, so people can have a clear perspective as to what this movement is about and what is expected. So January 1929, a warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Juali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Juali. March 1929. Islam. These are the instructions from your holy prophet, Noble Juali. The faithful, be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, Noble Juali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Juali. To be proclaimed in every meeting, 1929. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and the uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the last few years. Islam.
Islam.
So we're here again for another installment, Canaanland Moors class. Last week we got in some books from Brother Cosmo L. Alright, so we were talking about Brother Cosmo L. We got his Skype today. Last week we got a few books from him that we have available here. And you know, the books go into going extensively on, Moorish history, law, etymology, the connection to Hebrews, connection to Kemet, connection to whatever else, and he's gonna go in on a lot of that stuff today. What we wanted to do was just open up the floor, take a couple questions before we get the Skype going on, and if there's anything that you can add on to, we'll let him add on to that as well. But so any questions before we start up? Yes, sir.
Questions in relation to the definitions of
County, yep.
territory, and republic, state.
All right. So the reason why we use those terms is because they predate the city jurisdiction, and the cities, when we say city, we're leaning towards municipality, which is a Roman venue, right? So we say territory, we would say county, in order to not tie ourselves to the corporate jurisdiction. So for example, out here, you know that if you go to Mississauga, you get a ticket, it's the corporation of the city of Mississauga. Right? If you go Brampton, you have the corporation of the city of Brampton, the corporation of the city of Toronto. So they're openly letting people know that those municipalities are actually corporate jurisdictions, not de jure jurisdictions, right? When we go to the Governor General website, the Governor General will tell you that he is Canada's de facto head of state on the website, yeah, right? So we can come to the conclusion that their actions and how they talk is based on the ignorance of people. So they think people are stupid. People don't study. They went to their school, so they were taught none of the stuff that we deal with here. So they can throw little stuff out like that. People not gonna pay any attention. You know what I mean? Just like how they have the thing right now where they're trying to license Uber, right? And then the taxi, opposed to them just saying, you know what I mean, get rid of Uber altogether, because the taxi people been here first, you know what I mean, and they have sort of, supreme jurisdiction as far as, I need a ride, right? They're gonna license them too, or they wanna license them too, right? And it come back to the same thing, Uber is dollar cap. Right? Uber is, your boy who, you know what I mean? You call him up, you going or whatever like that. Well, I'm going down there, okay, meet me at the corner, I'll pick you up, I'll drop you, give me $1. That's what, you know what I mean? What they call maxi taxi in the islands. You know what I mean? You have the cab guy, and then you have the community individual who everybody's going to support the community guy because he's not corporate. That's his, he's making a livelihood or whatever like that, so you give him the $10.
That's opposed to that. Even down there, even down in Jamaica, they're trying to, the community guys that drive people around, they're trying to put licenses on them so they can pay into the system. Pay into the system. And really that's what it all comes down to. Getting you to be connected to the system in a way that you have to give them something. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much or whatever, because if you multiply it by how much ever amount of people that you have here, they're making something. If they get 5 cents, or if they get $50 times how much ever people that you got, these people who are outside influence, they're making something without doing anything, right? While we do 9 to 5, they do 9 to 5, but they're getting paid because of us. They're not getting paid because they have a job or whatever like that when they say Governor General and all these titles. So in our research, we found out that in Article 11 of the Articles of Confederation, Canada acceded to everything in the Union, right? 1700s. And then we have Canada, 1867, right? So there's these 2 jurisdictions of Canada that exist. And then we have Upper Canada and then Lower Canada, which is two other jurisdictions of Canada that nobody talks about, but Law Society is of Upper Canada. So there's still, we were talking about this earlier, that the Upper Canada, Lower Canada jurisdictions are still in existence in some way, shape, or form. It might not be put out to the public, right? Because they want the public to think Canada 1867.
Yep.
And that's it. Nothing before that. But then if you go to Quebec, they're saying we want nothing to do with Canada or whatever, because they know that Canada that they're talking about is a fraud and they came up late.
Upper and Lower Canada are still corporations.
They're you could look at upper and lower Canada more as more de jure corporations. They're not completely gone. They still were sticking to the principles of recognizing the Aboriginal and Indigenous people. When you look at some of the treaties with Upper Canada, and before they set up their whole jurisdiction, or before they did the switchover of the jurisdictions, you have people accepting the fact that where we are, our jurisdiction is part of North America, which means it's part of the United States of America, which is Alaska, going all the way down Brazil, Chile, and all that, right? So the reason why we put those things on the membership form is for exactly what you were bringing up. But how come this says territory or whatever? Usually say it's a form we fill out says city on it. How come this says whatever? Because it's to get people's minds rolling in the right direction, so that when they put that form in, now they start talking like what they put on the form. You know what I mean? They start saying, somebody sends them mail, when they reply, your reply is going to be, care of 2533A Eglinton Avenue West, not Eglinton AVE.W. Because that's a corporate jurisdiction, because it's not being spelled out, right? Toronto ON. When we want to put ON, we say Ontario Territory, right? We say postal code and put it in brackets, opposed to just put the postal code only without any brackets, right?
What does the brackets mean?
The brackets is just to anything that there's a rule in Admiralty that anything in a box is non-existent.
Right.
So when you get a lot of forms from these people, you see that they always have stuff in boxes. They always tell you, sign in the box and make sure it doesn't go outside the box and all that stuff, because they're trying to keep you they're trying to keep you boxed in. They're trying to keep you shadowed. They're trying to keep you on the plantation. As soon as you go out of the plantation, now they're not going to accept your stuff, because they realize that you're a renegade and you like to you like to kick the fence down and go eat over there instead of staying where there's no grass and eat, right? So it's all part of the detox when you have things like that. The mental detox of recognizing that we are in a position of being occupied by foreign powers, and the foreign powers are taking the position that that's all that exists. Whatever we say is what it is. And then all that stuff, oh, that's the past, don't worry about it. Like they say with slavery, oh, don't worry about the past, you know what I mean? But, Jews talk about slavery all the time. That was the past. They never forgot about that. Natives talk about stuff, they never forgot about it. So why is it that, they have this, and again, it's something that they only do with our people. But they really only do that with our people because, we don't have any concept of nationality, history, law, anything like that. All we know is what slave master taught us.
Black stuff.
You know what I mean? Black stuff. That's all that we know. And the sooner that we start doing these things and implementing these things, the more that we'll see stuff out there starting to change. So when we first started going to court and stuff like that out here, right? the before us, the process was you come to the court, you go up inside, you talk to the, you know what I mean, prosecutor or whatever like that, you know, how you plead, what you want to do today, blah, blah, blah. They do their little stuff, send you outside, and then they call everybody in at once. Now, prosecutor comes out and they set up outside. They don't want people going inside now. Everybody comes outside. And then this is how they do it in the Scarborough Court in Markham. People don't even go inside now. Prosecutor comes out and they talk to everybody outside. Because they don't want the energy that the Moors are bringing to taint their witchcraft that they're doing behind those doors after they close them. Brother Amari with the passport issue, reserving rights. That, you know, earlier you could reserve rights, send your stuff, and then ain't no big deal. Now anybody who reserves their rights on anything, they're fighting. They're fighting people to reserve their rights on contracts because they're starting to get gamed as to why we do that. That if we have our rights reserved, now they can't hold us to those contracts now. Because all we have to do is show me the contract. And then they're going to have to present it because with your rights reserved on it, they can't take that contract and sell it to anybody else. Because somebody else is going to say, why are you selling me something with a signature with all rights reserved that I can't lift the signature off and put it on other documents? Right, so when they say that when you look at the world, and the world is saying that they don't want anything to do with the U.S. and United States, this and that, and we're not taking no American dollars anymore, United States Federal Reserve notes and all that stuff. And you go to other places and you try to give them, and they're like, nah, sorry, we'll take anything else but that. That's why. Because everybody's realizing that they got gamed by a private inquisitionist, colonist corporation posing as a government. And then they became allies with them, and you know what I mean, Operation Paperclip, and helped the Nazi whoever get out of Germany and come here and all that stuff. And then they realized, hold on a second, that wasn't the government, that's not the people from 1791 with the Constitution. You mean that these are new people? Okay, we're gonna wipe our hands of these people. I want nothing to do with them. And that's where everybody's going right now with regard to their relations to these people. And then it's the people here that keep them alive by continuing to play this game like they're the government and vote for Trump or vote for whoever, when all of them are on the same team, no separation, you know what I mean? It's all one big game that they're playing. Alright? But the main thing is the detox. Those things are to get our people, to get those forms, like Brother Amari says all the time. The membership form is a study guide. Because there's ample words on there that we know people don't know. That if they would, just go through that form from the top, bottom, flip the side, and look up those words or whatever, that form alone will clear up a lot of their misconceptions that they have. Right? Just by, again, just like we're saying, jurisprudence, jurisdiction, right? Making sure that your words, or making sure that what you say is right and exact, so nobody can't assume that, what do you mean by that, or whatever. Making sure you're clear. But once we're not clear, that's how the other people assume jurisdiction. Once we're not precise in what we're saying, then they can kind of, weave through and figure out how to whatever. As soon as we're precise, that's brass wall, and they can't even move once we're precise with what we're saying. So we say territory, they know exactly that we're not talking about Canada, we're not talking about none of these provinces, we're not talking about anything. And then just try it with mail that you get. Somebody sends a mail to you, send something back, and just change up the stuff on it and send stuff back to them. And you'll see that it'll be a different response that you get from those people. Because they'll know, you'll see that they'll start correcting stuff. They'll start saying Ontario. And they never do that. You know what I mean? Even if they leave off territory. But the fact that they didn't just put ON, they actually spelled out Ontario, we're gonna let you know that, okay, these people are actually checking out what it is that I sent to them or whatever. Right? Any add-ons to that?
Just to add on to in regards to the territory and whatnot, I sent a letter to one of the corporates there, and all I put was latitude and longitude of where I was. They sent it back to me with full address,
Right.
full mailing location of where I was.
Right.
All I sent them was a latitude and longitude, and they sent it back to me with full mailing location.
Right.
So a lot of the things that we do, as I said, in terms of how we send mail out, because mail is very important. That is a very important thing that you do with mail. Most of us, we think it's insignificant, but try opening somebody's mail and letting the post office know about it. Guarantee you next day, cops will be at your front door. Mail is very important, very, very important. So in terms of how you put it out there, you gotta be careful how you do it, yes, but at the same time you gotta know what you're doing, because there's a lot of things that you send out that you don't know what you're doing with it. But there's things to learn as you go, but territory, county, and all those abbreviations, all those names are very important as well too.
Oh, yeah, and then also too with regard to Republic.
Republic, yes.
Because of the Article 11 and Canada acceding to everything in the Union, the jurisdiction of Canada is supposed to be a republican form of government. Right? It's not supposed to be democracy, even though their Canada Constitution Act or whatever says democratic or whatever like that. That's letting you know that they're talking about 1867, which are the imposters that had the the red flag with the maple leaf on it and stuff like that, and if you use that flag, they sue you because that's their corporate trademark. And you can check online how many people got sued for putting that flag on their stuff without permission from quote unquote the Canadian government. And only corporations do that, sue you when you use their stuff. Right? So they're admitting that they're a corporate jurisdiction. You know what I mean? And the mentality is to get the people to get back to the sense that they're really the governmental powers. And the people who are claiming to be mayor or whatever like that, that's why Rob Ford's stuff was so big, his funeral. Because he was people's mayor. He wasn't mayor for the corporate Toronto. He was mayor of the people. He had football teams and all that type of stuff. He was going to the same so-called black communities where they can't even find black leaders to inspire young men to be more than basketball players and whatever like that. He was going to these people's house. I know youths personally who they were like, yo, Rob Ford is like a dad to me. He came to my house, sat at the table, we ate food and stuff like that. My mom would cook food for him and all that type of stuff. And he's European too. Right? But he worked for the people. They got the video there where he's putting out all the stuff. You got free whatever this for the mayor, free this for the mayor, free that, free all the city councilors. All the free stuff that he's putting out, saying that, like what? These guys get paid how much ever thousands or whatever, and they're getting free stuff? Are they getting free stuff when they get paid, and then the people who have no money, you're telling them pay? You know what I mean? And then that's why the whole thing with the crack video and everybody's taping stuff with him talking Jamaican and stuff like that, he's racist and all that stuff, was all part of the whole thing to get him to be in a high level of stress so that they can, through the foods or whatever like that, because you already know his diet wasn't the best or whatever like that. Through the foods, hit him up with some whatever stuff, get cancer, and then he's going to keep. There's people who been had cancer 5-6 years or whatever. This guy died in a year from cancer.
Crazy. Doesn't make sense.
Just like that, he just died just like that. Just like that, the guy died from cancer. And he was doing all those stuff that they say, oh yeah, you know, come chemo and all that stuff. There's people who've been doing chemo that haven't died yet. So it was definitely something to get him out the way because of his influence.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Right? You know? So yeah. Anything else?
No.
Anybody else? So what we got today, we got a special guest, Brother Cosmo L. This brother's been doing work in the community. You know what I mean? He's not somebody new to this information. Moorish Ali told the Moors one of the prerequisites. One of the prerequisites, peace, yo, of being a loyal and faithful Moor is to make sure that you produce some type of literature in order to change the people's concepts. But Moorish Ali said that in order to change the people, you must change their literature. You know, the only way that we will shovel ourselves out of the avalanche of lies that is annually let loose upon us is by us having our own stuff, telling our own story, right? And in order for us to tell our own story, we have to be producing those outlets for people to learn this information, because they've been learned the black stuff and all that, and we already know that doesn't do anything for these people, all right? So we were gonna call the presentation what they never taught you in history class, Islam, because that was one of the first books that he had put out, and I decided to change it and call it Moorish Chronicles, because back in the day the brother was connected with a newspaper, right, called Moorish Chronicles, where, you know what I mean, they were going in the newspaper, right, and on the heading of the newspaper, they had the Moroccan flag, and then they had the RBG flag, right, showing that the concepts of Marcus Garvey, right, self-sufficiency, all that stuff that he talked about, and Moorish Ali were one and the same, and there was no separation between these two people, right, like there is today, right? So we're resurrecting the Moorish Chronicles energy to make sure that we inspire the people to recognize how significant their Moorish history is, right? So we shall keep it moving, and if we could just give a round of applause for our good brother Cosmo L. Peace Noble.
Islam,
The floor is yours, fam.
peace and love. I'd like to begin in the name of the Creator, the universal Creator, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, spoken of in the lesson on religion in the Holy Quran of the Moorish. I'd like to give honor to my illustrious and illustrious forefathers, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the Noble Drew Ali. And I greet my brothers and sisters in the humble words of peace, Islam.
Islam.
So, I don't Skype much. This is probably my first Skype. I actually had an opportunity to meet with some nerds out here who did a live stream. That's probably the first live thing that I've done in probably about 20 years. The reason I normally don't do live things is because I don't really like shooting from the hip. I don't really like freestyling Moorish history, science or law. The law I do know. But I know me and Brother Cujo have been, had a treaty for years now, started out with Moorish music, galvanizing the talent in the Moorish community, which culminated in a collaboration known as the Treaty of Beats and Kinship, an overture to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, obviously. And the science behind that is the science of griot. You know, what we call hip-hop is nothing but Moorish American griot. It's our own specific type of griot. And it was used all the way from Melly Mel on down. You know, they taught history and taught about social problems and things in the music. And so we use this to teach Moorish history in true Moorish American fashion. And as a result of that, you know, building that relationship, we go on to do other things, and we're actually involved in a project right now with Khalifa Media where there's a contest, and you guys should sign up. We both have books. I don't have it with me, but you can get it online at Amazon.com, The Secrets of the Fez. I believe, Cozmo, your book's the name Who Stole the Fez, right?
Islam.
Islam. And so it's put together by Khalifa Media, and if you write essays, you can win stuff. You can win gift cards and win a chance to get published in the new newspaper, which will be coming out. And also, you get a handmade fez from Brother Cosmo L. As far as I know, the only fezani in the United States, or at least the only one who's known right now. Actually making the fezes, I have a sample of a fez right here. All right. See the tassel inside, satin inlay, and it has the Khalifa fez sticker. I don't know if you guys can see that. So if you want a handmade fez and you want some gift cards and you want to learn something, get the books, read them, write some essays. The brother spoke of the Moorish Chronicle, and for those of you that know, I just recently relocated from Southern California. I'm the Minister of Culture for the Moors in California. As far as I know, I'm the only Minister of Culture, so I'll say, period, the Minister of Culture. And then moving, you know, you get to pulling out stuff. And so I kept a few things out. One of them I kept out was the Moorish Chronicle. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
All right. And this is the paper he was talking about. This is not the first one, but it's one of the ones I worked on. And you can see the Moorish flag and the flag of Garvey, like he said. You also see Jamil Al-Amin on there. Says Jamil Al-Amin gets a bad rap. A lot of people forget about Jamil Al-Amin. He's one of the students of Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz that's actually still alive. And he's locked up right now, so, you know, for a crime he didn't commit. So we didn't just put Moorish history in the newspaper. We put current events, and Moorish news, and then you can see down here at the bottom, the Moors here in California work closely with the Dakota Nation. This was an article, the Moorish youth getting justice for our people and for our Native American brothers and sisters from the Dakota tribe. So, well, that's the newspaper there. The book he was talking about is this book here. Can they respond or what?
Yeah, yo, we're good.
Who has this book? Anybody have this book?
I do.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
Gratitude for supporting Moorish literature. This book, what I intended to do with this book right here, it's called Moors, What They Didn't Teach You in Black History Class. And because the subject of Moors has been suppressed, even though we know it's not a part of Black history. Black history really begins with the Atlantic slave trade. But those who are proponents of so-called Black history have over time tried to include what they call African history. And in doing so, they omitted every aspect of Moors and or Muslims. If you go to the Black Studies departments today, you'll even find that they're not really comfortable with the subject being taught. Matter of fact, I had professor at Cal State LA invite me to her class, and when she invited me to class regarding this book, she bought this.
Here they go. Starting it up. There they go. They're starting it up.
You guys?
Yeah, peace, Mark. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
that was somebody calling. I don't know how to stop it, so if that happens, I'll call you or just call me back.
All right, it's all good.
But what happened, she made a point to mention to me how the Pan-African Student Union really would kind of be upset. And she kind of wanted to stick it to them a little bit. And she's an urban anthropologist. I'm not going to mention her name right now because I haven't accepted her invitation yet. But, you know, she was well versed in Moorish history. You know, she knew about the Moors. She didn't have no problem, and she understood exactly what Moors are talking about when we're talking about, you know, the United States Corporation is a de facto government. In fact, if you go on ethnologue is a great resource. How many people know about ethnologue?
Nope.
All right, if you study language and linguistics and geography, ethnologue, it pretty much has the language of every territory, every state, in the world. And so if you want to know what they speak in certain places of Africa, say for example in Burkina Faso and the surrounding territories of West Africa, guess what language they speak? Then this book right here, Key Points Trilogy, which is actually 3 books in one. They speak the Moor language. Yeah, there's an actual language called the Moor language in the region that Moors from West Africa come from. And when you really start getting into it, it's really deep. The leader is named the Moro Nava. And he meets on for the Holy Dance Friday, and really when you start, it's going to sound so familiar when you start reading it. And the nobles, they all wear pheasants, very colorful pheasants. So, ethnologue, when you go look at the language of the United States, it's going to have a lot of languages. They're going to be Native American languages, you know, Aboriginal languages, but it's going to list English. And right there, it says de facto. You know, it's the de facto language. So if English is the de facto language, and everybody pretty much speak English, right?
Right.
So if English is the de facto language, then what about the English-speaking people? Are they not de facto? So, you know, little interesting things like that. Another thing I wanted to point out was the etymology of the word Negro, black, and colored in relationship to black. I don't know if you guys see this. It says etymology of the word Negro, or of Negro, black, colored, Maurus, and more. So, somebody tell me what they know about the etymology of the word black. Not you, Brother Cujo.
Death.
Anybody in the audience, what do you know about the word black? Where does it come from?
If you look up peace, Islam, it's America Shabazz Bey.
Islam, brother.
If you look up the etymology of black, it comes back to meaning pale or shiny.
All right. Islam.
Islam.
Yeah. So it means pale and shiny, and this is why you get saying Moors saying being classified as white, and that black actually means white. So it's actually kind of moronic to even use the term. That's the verb, I believe, or the adjective. It's also a noun that basically means what it means: black, dark spot, pupil of the eye. But when you study the etymology of black, you'll see it was black. It meant black. It's a noun, but it didn't refer to people. It was used to describe the color black or something dark. If you go to the etymological dictionary, Etymoline, you can just type in etymology and you see Etyma online dictionary, and it's a good dictionary for to start, and then you can branch out from there. it tells you that black referring to people didn't begin until the 1620s. All right, this is when they started trying to bring it in. All right, but then they tell you that the word black or more. How many people have heard of the word black or more?
Islam. Yes, sir.
All right, raise your hand if you've heard of the word black or more. All right, this word, all right, beautiful. This word is very important because you have a lot of people who claim to be black and yet feel no association with the word more. So when you try to say, hey, we're Moors and they're stuck on black, there's no connection. Well, this word blackamoor is the link. This word blackamoor comes from the 1540s, and it referred to a dark-skinned person. So we see 1540s is before 1620s, so this is actually more authentic, and then in the 1620s it drops off. But in the United States North American slave trade, the main word that was in use was not black, it was Negro, which come from the Spanish, the 1515s, and the Portuguese, which means black or dead or dark, sable, dusty, or gloomy, or unlucky, bad, wicked. You can go on down the line. But what's interesting about this word, when you start going into the etymology, it tells you an adjective from 1590 used with the capital N. It became used with a capital N in the 1920s. So it wasn't even capitalized until the 1920s. And you can look this up in the 1930 style book. And so in 1960s, the word black began to replace the word Negro. So basically, when you look at all this, the term black, in referring to our people that our people are so emotionally attached to, is only 50, 60 years old. But yet, in reference to people, but yet people try to make it ancient. So I wanted to highlight that. Another thing is they talk about more meaning dead or more meaning black, and I have a good video if you go online to the Cosmo L channel. If you haven't been, please check it out. Subscribe if you like. And I go into the origin of that. And the source of this more means black is totally erroneous. No etymological dictionary will tell you that. What they will tell you is that more is cognate to black. Now, cognate is of a same or similar nature, generically alike. And then when you go into other definitions, related by blood, related by descent. All right? Related by derivation, borrowing, or descent, or substance. And so it's related, but it doesn't mean the same thing. The reason it's related is because the word marus or mar, which is as far as the European and the people who are study European, they study European history and study their own, they can only go back to the Greek marus, and you've heard this, right?
Right.
Yeah, so marus is the word that they say it comes from. Then in the Roman, it'll be mari, and then it comes into Latin, the word more, and then it comes into English. But we know that this word, if you go into the etymological dictionary, it'll tell you that marus is borrowed from the native word of the Mauritanians. And what was that native word? The native word comes from the tribe of Mari in Mauritania. And in even more ancient times, this word that Mari comes from is borrowed, and some of you have probably seen this online, from Tamaru or Tamuri. Tamuri is another word for more in ancient times, with people from the land of the Nile. And so this is some of the information that I go on in this book. And there's more because I like to bring it current. Before I go on to some of the current things, I'm going to skip to this one real quick. This one, and I want to say excuse whatever typos and things are in the book. Most of them are first editions, and I want to give a shout out to Sashat Pa, who's become an editor on many of these books and is helping me out there. This book right here, The Moabite Key. How many of you people heard that Moors are descendants of the ancient Moabites? Just raise your hand. All right. So if Moors are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, then we should want to know something about the Moabite language. And we should want to know more about our ancient languages, because as long as we're only thinking in their language, and I mean, just learn the alphabet, learn some words, you know, it really changes the hemispheres of your brain and reverses what they've done. And it's important. There's another video that I have that deals with the Moabite language. I started out saying that Moor means death. That people claim Moor means death. And I'm sure you've seen it. I have a video that talks about where this concept comes from. The reason this language is so important, and it's also known as Canaanite, or ancient or Paleo-Hebrew, is because this is the foundation of Western civilization. Their alphabet comes from this. The Greek alphabet is this reversed. All right? And from this comes all of their Latin and everything else in English. In fact, if you look at this alphabet, if you reverse them and flip some on their side, they'll even resemble the English alphabet that you use today. For example, these are the first 4 letters. This, what that look like? Let me turn it this way. That look familiar?
Yeah, letter A.
Oh, yeah.
That's an A.
Yeah.
And it means exactly what it means, but this is ancient. This language goes all the way back. When the Bible was written, it was written in languages, this language and languages like that. Now this language comes from an area in Kemet known as the Sinai area. And you'll know Mount Sinai from being related to Moses. This language it holds the keys to understanding the Kemetic and Moorish tradition. It's a bridge. So in the video where it talks about Moor meaning death, I traced the word Moor back to the ancient Moabite. We saw Tamuri in Kemet. But the word Moor itself, when you go into each letter that is borrowed, you can derive an understanding. And it actually means the opposite of death. The M or the M sound means it's the water. You know, you see it, it's the hieroglyph. And the Ra sound means to rule. So you ever heard that Moors are masters of the water? That's where this definition comes from. Ancient Moabite. So these are some of the types of things that I wanted to bring up to the people and highlight. This book right here is an introduction. It's full of lots of facts. And it's a very interesting story related to this book, because when I started out, and I don't know if you know this, Brother Cujo, when I started out writing this book, it was going to be called 100 Amazing Facts About the Moors. And I got to 33 facts, and you guys dropped the book. 30 amazing facts. So I have to say the first 33 are the really that belong in that book. But I just show you how Moors be on the same plane. But I had a plan B. I said, all right, because that was a throwback to J.A. Rogers, a pioneer. If you don't have any of his books, people, you got to get them all, because he has a lot of Moorish history, and he's one of the scholars that, before they started suppressing Moorish history, that wrote a lot of Moorish history, and it was in his book. So I said, let me do an overture to the book, What They Didn't Teach You in History Class, and I came up with this. And this is actually my bestseller right now, and yeah, so if you guys want a good introduction, I have a part 1 and 2, all in the same book as well, and it's cheaper, and you get a lot. Part 1, some of the current events in this.
Oh, please, Mark, before you continue, we're getting an internet connection issue box that comes up and blocks your face. So could you tilt your camera down a little bit? Yeah, so that way when it comes up, we can still see you. All right, yeah, that's proper.
Better?
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right, so the next thing I wanted to tell you about this book here, to bring it current. People that are, I want to just tell you, and I'm going to just tell you outright, you know, civil rights is dead, all right? Civil rights is, you know, there's no such thing as temporary rights. You guys know that. And so-called black people are having their voters' rights renewed every 25 years. due to the Voters' Rights Act. So when you understand, that voting is the main way that people shape their existence inside the government, then, this is clear evidence that so-called black people are not first-class citizens. If you're not a first-class citizen, then you're a slave, you're a second-class citizen. No other population of people has to endure having their rights renewed. It was renewed by Bush last time, before that Reagan, and then originally it was Nixon who signed the paperwork. So we kind of know that, all right, we know that so-called blacks are in this temporary status, and this so-called black voting rights are to be renewed again in 2031. But there have been developments, and one of the developments is that in 2013, the Supreme Court of the United States gutted the 4th and 5th sections of the Voters' Rights Act. If you know about that, raise your hand. All right. In this book, it talks about that, and they gutted the 4th and 5th sections. Now, the 4th and 5th sections, what that means is the 4th and 5th sections were the pre-clearance sections. The pre-clearance sections were placed upon the southern states because they were discriminating against so-called blacks. In fact, many people don't know that the Black Panther Party started in Lowndes County, Alabama, by this very person known as Jamel Al-Amin now, who was H. Brown and Stokely Carmichael. They were the Black Panthers of Lowndes County, Alabama, and the reason that they formed was to escort so-called black people to the polls to vote, because the Klan would, run them off, and they had all these discriminatory tactics, the IQ test and everything like that. So the pre-clearance section was put in place to prevent the states from making it the so-called black people couldn't vote. So we're talking about local ballot votes and things like that, not electoral. And you can make a difference with referendum and things like that. That's part of the demonstration. So what they did was they said, all right, you can't make any restricted laws, and they put it on them. So the 4th and 5th sections prevented the states from making voters registration rules and things to disenfranchise so-called black people. In 2013, the 4th and 5th sections were gutted. They were taken away. And so what happens is you have the news about immigration, and they don't want the so-called Mexicans to be able to vote and come have children and become citizens and all of this stuff. But what they don't tell you is that the birthright citizenship that the Republicans are now trying to do away of, the 13th Amendment, is the very leg that so-called black people stand on to say that they are citizens. 13th, 14th Amendment, this quote-unquote birthright citizenship, that if you're born in the jurisdiction of the United States that you're a citizen, which makes you a subject. But this is what they stand on. This is the whole foundation of civil rights. And Republicans right now have that. They're trying to abolish that amendment, period. And then the 4th and 5th sections were gutted by the Supreme Court, and then soon after that, you started having the voters' registration restrictive laws. And what they don't tell you in the news is this affects so-called black people even more so than it does the so-called Mexican, because we're the ones being governed by that temporary status. So I wanted to bring the Moorish information out of history and put it in current events so that people can see there's things taking place all around them, important things, but they just don't know that it's related to them because they don't understand that they're Moors. So much so that you see Beyonce, and she has a Moor in her video. If you look at the cinematography and all these things, you can see it's a pretty deep statement made from her and her handlers. So let's see, other book right here, Ancient Kemet Islam and the Preservation of Mind. And I got a lot of flack for this book. A lot of flack. Because for some reason people don't see the connection between Islam and Moors. And you have people running around saying that if you become a Muslim or become a Muslim, then you are enslaved to the Arabs like you were enslaved to Christians under Christianity. And first of all, if you understand what Christianity is, you really can't make that statement. But rather than argue those points, I decided to take a historio-linguistic approach. And how many of you have heard of George G.M. James or his book Stolen Legacy? Raise your hand. All right. If you study Kemetic science and you haven't read that book, get that book, George G.M. James, Stolen Legacy. He's one of the pioneers. This is the foundation book. You should read up on him and his life work. So what it says here, one of his quotes, it says, as mentioned elsewhere, the Egyptians of the Chemite mysteries and philosophical schools of Greece were closed by the edicts of Theodosius and Justinian in the 4th and 5th centuries. As a consequence, intellectual darkness spread over Christian Europe and the Greco-Roman world for 10 years, during which knowledge had disappeared. Then later on, in a quote, he says, had it not been, let me see, hold on, it says, as such, the North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptians and became the custodians of Egyptian culture, which they spread throughout considerable portions of Africa, Asia Minor, and Asia Minor. During the occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed with considerable credit the grandeur of African culture. So here you don't hear him say Islamic culture. You hear him say African culture. You hear him say Egyptian, right, which we know is Kemetic. Now, this book came out, I believe, in the 70s. So why did he not say Islamic? Because this is what you'll get. Well, when you start studying Islamic ritual, you'll find that preservation of the Kemetic science in many of the signs and symbols. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but at the bottom there's a little man making different positions.
Matrix glitch.
What's up? Let's see. You there?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so this is around the time I start getting most of my calls. But anyway, you see those positions, all of these positions, and you see the Salat positions of the Muslim prayer, they're all in the Kemetic science and they have meaning. And when you look around today, you have people studying Kemet, but it's only one group of people that's making these gestures and these positions. And the language of Arabic comes from this language. Mostly all those languages in the East come from this language. And so it's a preservation of the Kemetic sciences. Now the problem is Afrocentric circles have been dismissing the Muslim and Hebraic side and the Moors. And what they've done is they played themselves out of a treasure trove of Moorish history and knowledge, or so-called black history and knowledge. So this is primarily my focus with the books. Also to add some perspective to the Moorish history and clear up some questions. And you have people, I'm sorry, people that's some other people calling there. But so anyway, what I'll do is I'll open it up for a question and answer. One thing before I do that, just so you know, I make the feathers enclosed, so you can go to 100% more on Facebook and check out some of that attire there. Islam.
As far as your background, how do you get to being where you are in Moorish science? Because as we know, a lot of us come from all different schools of thought, and then ended up to the final abode of Moorish science. So what's the and if you could also give a timeline with regard to the schools of thought that you've been through and how you got to being where you are right now.
Yes, sir. Well, it's it's by Allah. In the end, it's by Allah that I've come to the knowledge of self. I first was introduced. Well, first of all, my father has a legacy in the movement. He's one of the original generals of George Jackson, known as Nate Great Booth or Bone Crusher. He's one of the original generals. For a long time, I was growing up, and they kept telling me he was in the book, So I went through all the books I could think of to find him, but I couldn't find his name. And then I was like, oh, well, that's just my family, just, want to be something. So until I started running into a lot of brothers and sisters from the BGF OGs and stuff, and then they verified it. And then it kind of clicked to me a lot of the stuff that he didn't celebrate Christmas, and he had a knowledge beyond just the regular Christianity. So that did pique my interest a little bit. I became introduced to Moorish science and history at 14. I got my nationality card at 14. 42 now, so it's about 7 years ago. I was in high school at the time, and really hip hop played a large role. Public Enemy was one of my favorite groups. That's back then in the 80s. That's when I started hip hop, getting into all of that. And I got introduced to Malcolm X, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, and I heard the little excerpts of speeches of him and Farrakhan and Khalid Muhammad, and I started listening to those speeches. And around that time, consciousness, it was kind of similar to how it is now, only you really didn't know anything about morals. And I ran into a brother, and we started talking, and they had what was called IP, in preparation class. This original Temple 43. And they said, hey, come to the class and check it out. So I was waiting, and it's funny because the brother was late. And I'm 14, I'm ready to go out. I'm not ready to hang, go to no meeting. But somebody came by, and sure enough, hey, the women over here, the stuff's over here and stuff. So I'm actually turning and locking the door, about to leave with him, and the car pulled up. So I had that choice right there. Many of us have that choice. Because, the world pulls strong on you, When you go over here with some women, sense gratification and all of that. But for some reason, I didn't go that way. And I hopped in the car, and I went to the meeting. And I got my lessons, 13 preliminaries. I had to memorize that. We came and rotated it. Next, I got my one-on-ones, had to memorize that, rotated that. Next, Constitution and bylaws. And then 7 lessons from the Circle 7, and then I got my head shaved, and I got my fez and my nationality card. Now, this process does vary from temple to temple these days, depending on how old the temple is and the origins of the temple. But back then, this is how it was done. And so I immediately, everybody started out as a mufti. This is the first degree, basically. And everyone's a mufti once you join the temple, because everybody needs to look after the welfare of the temple and all its possessions and the constitution and bylaws. And so I served as a mufti, and we had training and things like that. It was security based. And so from mufti to assistant chief mufti to treasurer and then scribe and pretty much up the line, assistant grand sheikh, and eventually a grand sheikh of the circle for a time, and then eventually an ADAP. And that's pretty much where I came. The studying back then was rigorous. We had to memorize a lot of the Circle 7, and I still know some of it today, not all of it. And now one of the great teachers, and I'm going to give honors to a brother by the name of Danifu Syed Kareem Bey, also known as Little Bunchy. If many of you have heard of Bunchy Carter, he was a general under him in the Black Panther Party, and he has a rich legacy in the movement. And he wrote a little booklet called The Fall of Moorish Empire, one of the first books that I read, and it really opened my eyes. And from that point, kind of studying with, reading everything he gave me or whatever suggestion, and he would not, different from a lot of the grand sheiks and stuff now. They kind of want a stronghold on their congregation. And what he did was take me around and to learn from everybody. If this person specialized in language, then we went over there to study language, him included. If he didn't know, he was getting it. So it was really a good study ethic for me to realize that if I didn't know something, I could learn from someone, whether I like them or not, because half the people we didn't like. But we went there and to learn from them, and it wasn't personal. Activism was promoted, and in doing so, being out there, this newspaper, back in the first one came out in 1995. We had a force out there with the newspaper, and that kind of honed my speaking skills, talking to people back and forth, because I've heard a lot of questions. I won't say every question in the book, but I've heard a lot of them, believe me. And I was out there on the corners, old school style. So that's kind of where I came from. Back in the day, you didn't have this. You didn't have all this Wi-Fi or none of that stuff. What you had was Kinko's. And Moorish literature, we would be up till 12 o'clock at night at Kinko's putting together Moorish literature and pamphlets. I don't know if some of you Moorish have some of those old pamphlets, some of them barely legible because they was copied from documents that were already barely legible. But we put together a lot of information, and in putting together that information and being out there, we studied it. So that's how I came up on the knowledge that I have. Then I was dispatched to college to learn how to do a newspaper. So I went to Camino to study journalism, when I also became president of Pan-African Student Union there. And then I also went to LACC to study law, and became the president of the Black Student Union there. Because our thing is, that's where the people are, so that's where we go to teach the knowledge. And of course, once we get in there, we're teaching them about themselves. And this was a part of fostering the movement of people knowing about it, because the state-sponsored Black history classes were not teaching this, and they were in opposition to us. So, and then, and it always kind of was funny to me, because one time they brought down Runoko Rashidi. This was before they started espousing the Moorish term, but a lot of these people fought against it when it was going. And then when they accepted it as more meaning black, which was the twist, because that's the state-sponsored Black history coming in. And so we've been fighting that for years, But that's a little bit of my background, and I had some manuscripts that I had been sitting on for years and years, and with the help of Amazon and CreateSpace and Sister Tahida La, who is running Khalifa Media right now, giving me the information to be able to set that up. So, and it's been wonderful because it's allowed me, and I think every Moor can connect with this. You want to be able to be a Moor, you want to be able to make money, but you want to be able to keep your soul intact. You don't want to have to compromise your principles, whatever that is. If it's shaving your beard, if you don't agree with shaving the beard, or if you want to wear your fez to work and just be yourself, you want to be yourself all the time, right or wrong.
Right.
All the time.
So what it allowed me to do is, I'm living, the Moorish people are really supporting me right now. I mean, over the 2 months, I sold like 250 books. And that has enabled me to get out on the road and get around and explore new options and meet with Moors across the country and things like that. And so I'm really thankful to the Moorish people right now for actually supporting one of their own, because these could be collecting dust somewhere. But it's also indicative of the fact that the Moorish history is a hot topic, and our people are waking up in large numbers, because it only makes sense. Without all of the deep stuff and history backing it up, look, Moor is the last term that you have a paper trail in. It's the last term that you have a paper trail. There's no inheritance in Black on record. There's no inheritance in African on record. There's no inheritance in Kemetic. Well, there may be in Kemetic, but not in those particular terms. And even if you wanted to access that, you would have to go through Moor first, because Moors are the custodians of the Kemetic science. And people don't believe it, but that's why Noble Jew Ali was a Kemetic Adab. When you're looking at your Circle 7, a lot of people don't understand why it uses father in there to describe Allah. And we know that in the Quran, this term father is in the Holy Quran of Mecca, this term father is annexed, you know, and if you use it in some places, you know, you might get your head took. The surah that says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Say, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Say he Allah is one. All is he on whom all depends, he begets not, nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him. So why is this word father in there? When you're looking at the Circle 7, you're looking at ancient texts. You're looking at ancient texts that comes before that. It was brought to us to reconnect us with what we had lost. So when people say, oh, well, it comes from unto thee I grant, and it comes from the Aquarian gospel. Well, where do you think they got it from? If you look in the book Unto Thee I Grant, they don't lay claim to it. They tell you it's ancient Kemetic from Amenhotep. And Norbert Ali is the Kemetic Agag, who got the Circle 7 in Kemet. And had the Hadith goes, he had to memorize it because they wouldn't let him take it across. So he had to eat it. They said, well, he said, I ate it. And that became the tradition of us rotating and memorizing the Circle 7 like that, so that we can recite the lessons in case we don't have the book. And so, you know, this is I kind of lost my train of thought blasting off over there. Oh, also Aquarian Gospel, what did he tell you? He said it's in the ethers. And anybody who want to have access to it, when they reach a certain vibration, they can pull it down. So that's part of the Holy Quran of the Moorish of what it's comprised of. And then the second part is the lost histories of Jesus. And why would we need that lost histories of Jesus? But you think you're reading the Jesus with the Bible, you really think you're reading the Bible, but that's the Nicene Council's Bible. That's the Bible put together by the Roman bishops and Constantine. You see what I'm saying? So now, all right, and they're ancient books, but that's the compilation for so-called white folks. That's the compilation for Europeans. Ain't they using it?
Straight.
They take it everywhere they go, don't they? So that's their compilation. So what's missing from that Bible, even though we know it's ancient science, and if you know it, you know how to read it, especially if you know this right here, then you can cipher that Bible for people. But with a Baptist interpretation, you're not getting nowhere. And unless it's spiritual Baptist. So let's see, where was I with that? Oh, the Circle 7 lessons are the missing histories of Jesus so that you can know the part that we're supposed to know. So that's the Injil. That's the real Injil, the part that we don't know about that we're supposed to know. So, I don't know how I got off on that, but it's still good knowledge. So any other questions?
Anybody else?
Oh, that's
Brother?
Islam family. I'm already ready. Question. In regards to studying, what tools do you mostly utilize? I mean, a lot of us, we usually speak on etymology dictionaries, the Black's Law Dictionary, any other old dictionaries, but what other tools might you recommend for us to utilize for studying?
All right, it depends on your focus of study.
Okay.
And that's really important because some boys have an affinity to, just based on their character, to study certain things. So like me, I'm not a master in law. I just know what I know. I specialize in history and language because I learned some language and some history. So I think every more, it depends on your craft. So if you're a doctor, then you're going to eventually teach more science through medical terminology. If you're a lawyer, you're going to use law terminology. If you're a historian, you're going to use historian terminology. So when you're studying, it really depends on your character and what your focus is. But as far as some basic points, I say you want to start with your 101s and take those keys. Some of them are spiritual, but some of them are historical. So when you see when was the head of Satan taken off, 1453 Byzantine. Go look what's 1453 Byzantine, and when you start, that's a seed. Each one of those is a seed. And when you start unfolding that seed, there's a wealth of Moorish history behind just that date. So what you do is you start with one focal point and you start unfolding. And when you say, for example, 1453 Byzantine, when was the head of Satan taken off? This is when the Moor, I believe his name Hassan, climbed the wall, and the Ottoman Empire was established. But when you look into the Ottoman Empire, it's the remnants of the Moorish Empire, or the representation of the Moorish Empire in Europe. When you look into the original Turks, you'll start to see that they're Moors. In fact, the founder of the Turks is known as Kara, the so-called black, right? When you start looking into 1453 Byzantine and the word Turk in Turkey, you'll start to see that there's a thing called anti-Turkism, and that this is where the negative connotations of the word Turkey come from, and why Moors were called Turkeys. You know, so stuff unfolds. So start with that's why we say keys. Each one of them are keys, so we say key 20. Everybody know that, right? Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, right? But what's it a key to? Islam. Yeah, what's it a key to, though? It's a key to unlocking your history. It's not the answer, it's the key. So you start with those keys, and then, you can start with also current events. When you see something that's kind of related to more, And another frame of reference, wherever you see Mar, Moor, Mari, Moor, any of those derivatives, then you're looking at yourself or something related to yourself. So and I guarantee you, brother, when you start digging, you're going to find something. So what it really is Allah is leading on and guiding you. So when you're sincere, you're going to find it. When some people, and this is what the haters do, they go into it looking to disprove you. And when they're going to look to disprove more, they bypass a whole bunch of stuff that's proven it along the way. But since you know that you were born, you're going to be guided to that which is knowledge for you. See, you're seeking the knowledge, but the knowledge is seeking you too. And also dictionaries are good, etymological dictionaries, encyclopedias. If you're looking you want to study symbolism, then you want you an encyclopedia of symbols. If you're going to study law, you want an encyclopedia of law terms. And thesaurus and things like that, because they give you synonyms and adjectives where you can get a compact understanding really quick of the word, and then have alternative words. So these are some of the tools I use, and always go back to what you have studied again, because believe me, and that's why I said when you have studied self and ask me what to study next, I study again, because when you go back to it, there's going to be more as you grow, because there's layers of meaning to this. Some more is getting to a thing and say, no, it doesn't mean that, it means this. Well, maybe in a few years you'll know that it means more than just that. So Islam, I hope I said something.
Oh, you did more. Thanks.
Islam. Anybody else?
I got some.
Islam.
As far as the historical perspective and connecting our people to Moorish history, what are some key points in history that stood out to you relative to the fact that we are Moors, and that it's not just some modern thing that Mohammed Ali came up with in the 1920s, but it's something that's ancient?
Islam. Well, all right, I can tell you some funny stuff, and I have the truth. I actually reference it in this book. This is just to connect real simply and easy, and I'm gonna find it. The first thing, when you look at the term Moor, you go to the dictionary, you give the modern definition, and these definitions change over time, which is why it's important to use an etymological dictionary, because it shows you the root of it. So you go to a modern dictionary, you're going to see Moor means Arab, or you're going to see Moor means Arab and Berber. You're going to see a lot of things. But J. Rogers was really good about pointing out that, and I think he has in one of his books that we didn't really start up until 1700s. We weren't known as so-called blacks, and that Moor was actually the term. And he gave a reference to a dictionary from that time. So I always collect old dictionaries. I look in there, every dictionary that's old, I look to see what the definition of Moor is, because I'm going to know if it's authentic or not. And then if it has, so sometimes it'll go to black. All right, that's cool, but it's not further enough. They'll have other ones that say Native or Mauritanian, dark skin, and things like that. But what really stands out about it on a simple level is if you look at a lot of these movies that are out, you know, and it's so simple, they put it in front of people's face, like I have a couple of them in this book. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So everybody knows about Morgan Freeman in the movie, but what's this? This is Martin Lawrence. And they say that's because he doesn't look like a Muslim. So that lets you know that it's not limited. This is just a brother from Florence and Normandy. And they're calling him a Moor all through the new movie. Why? Because he went back in ancient times. He went back to the time where they wasn't calling him black. And he didn't even know how to respond. He was like, in the movie, he said, the way that they use this word, I don't know if I like it. You know, and that's how they kind of do us now. But so that's just something that you can kind of use for people to have them connect with it really quick. The second thing is the word blackamoor, which I already put out. But one of the main things is once I started digging into the history, it went back so far that there's no way that Noble Ali could have made it up. Something that's funny to me, an article that Brother Grand Sheikh Alan Bay, Temple 77 out here pointed out to me. He gave me an article, and it's on my Facebook. You have to search through a whole bunch of pictures, but you can find it. And maybe you guys know it. It's an article where it talks about, it's a Jordanian prince, all right? He gets arrested in Spain for having a weapon. And this is in it's like 1930 or something like that. And he gets arrested in Spain for having a weapon. And they're reporting on this in the newspaper. And this Jordanian prince says that he works for the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's right there in the article. So now I said, well, why is this Jordanian prince working for the Moorish Science Temple of America? And so then I started researching over there. Now, you know, this is the same area, Syria, Jordan, over there where ISIS is busting down all those monuments and stuff and destroying our history. And when I started researching the history of Morocco, it talked about the founding of Morocco coming from the family coming from the holy city of Mecca, from the family of the Prophet Muhammad, into Fez, Idris, and founding the city of Fez. And that the kingdom of, when you study the kingdom of Mecca, was, it included, the seat of it was the seat of Mecca. And it was also the kingdom of Morocco at that particular time was connected with the holy city of Mecca, and that was the seat of the kingdom of Imperial Morocco. But in 1912, right in 1912, this is pretty much when the kingdom in Mecca fell. And at that point, the seat was moved, the holy seat was moved to Jordan. But what happened in 1913? The Moorish Science Temple of America was opened, and the Moorish flag was donned. This flag was not donned on the soil of Morocco itself until 1915. And it was represented internationally by the Moors from 1913 on up. And the Moroccans that used this flag didn't even start using this flag until 1956, officially, openly, and internationally after they got their independence from the French. So why was the seat over here? Why was the flag being donned over here? You know, now there's some subtle things too. How many people seen the movie Godfather? Raise your hand if you've seen the movie Godfather. All right, a lot of people, a lot of gangster movies, gotta see Godfather. How many people remember that when Little Corleone is coming in through Ellis Island, there's a whole bunch of pheasants coming all behind him?
Nobody else in here.
Did you look in the background and see those pheasants?
Yep.
So now you know at that time it was mass migration from all over the world, Morocco included. So it was a gang of Moroccans coming here. It was a gang of Italians coming here. And when the Italians came here, what did they do? They formed communities and they hooked up and they linked with their people, right? So where do you think the Moroccans went? They went to the Moorish Science Temple. And many of the Moroccans and many of the sheikhs and stuff that came were working with Noble Drew Ali. If you study the history, you'll see that this was not something that he just whipped up. So you have Moroccans coming in. What are they going to do? They're going to link with their national body. And the only thing existing at that time was the Moorish Science Temple of America. And you still don't have any Moorish group for all them people that came from Morocco, but the Moorish Science Temple of America or other civic groups that have started as well. You know. So those are just, I try to find little practical things that people can see. You know, that movie was representative of a particular time. This is when so-called blacks around 1913, this is when so-called blacks were having an opportunity. Nationalism, the United Nations was just coming about. So you had the United Nations being formed by Woodrow Wilson at that particular time. Nationalism was the order of the day. So you had this population of so-called black people, and that if they wanted to be represented, it says link yourselves with the families of nations. The families of nations sound like a United Nation, but you will never have a seat or representation under Negro, black, and color. You got to have a nationality, you know. So then, another thing that even though it's just a declaration, but it gives you a mindset as to what the world thinks and what world policy is, whether or not it's enforceable is another thing. For Article 15, it tells you everyone has a right to a nationality. Well, why don't we have one? Well, we have one, but why don't we know of this nationality? You know, where's ours? So these are the things that really solidified it for me. It's too much historical. And then you start going all around the world and you start looking into the ancient Moorish history. When you deal with ancient Moorish history, you see ancient Moors, Phoenicians, so-called Phoenicians. They call Hannibal a Blackamoor, but Blackamoor didn't even exist until 1540, right? We just talked about that. So what was he? He was a Moor. So Hannibal, when you start studying Hannibal, you start seeing that he was a Moor. Who was he fighting? He was fighting Rome. And who are we under still today? The yoke of Rome is always between, there's only been two world empires. All right, especially after the Kemetic Empire, right, which is the ancient Moorish Empire, but it's only been two world empires in our time, and that's the kingdom of Moors under the order of Islam and the Roman Church of Christianity under the yoke of Rome. And these two have been fighting ever since ancient times, trying to get the one up on the other, you know. And in this time, we're finally coming back into our own. But it goes back too far. When he talks about, when you look into Circle 7 and it talks about Rome, it's this modern Rome right now. We just, you know, I don't want to sound rhetorical, but you know, a number was done on us. You know, we're that haram of beef they talk about in masonry that was hit in the head with a setting off, struck in the throat, struck in the heart. These are the things that were taken from us, our knowledge of self, our language, and in some respects, our soul, our reasoning, our compassion, because we have a lot of hate. That's why Noble Drew Ali come and say we need to learn to love instead of hate. He said we need to learn how to love. This is really, it sounds simple, but this is what is going to uplift us. And the fact of knowing about our nationality is preparing us to govern ourselves and have our own nation truly. And we're at varied degrees along the way. Everybody is. Some people can get nationalized, proclaiming as the good step for them. They're not able to rip themselves. Sometimes you have to slowly unwind yourself. You know, those people that are able to jump in and put both their feet in and go head up with Rome, that's good too. But it's a process going on, and it looks like we're winning. Islam.
We have some sisters here. Can you talk about their importance in the Moorish movement, as well as some reference points with regard to Noble Drew Ali and showing their importance?
Mm-hmm. Well, reference to Noble Drew Ali, sister's in his arms on the front of the 101s. And on her is written humanity. In the 101s, it talks about the mothers and fathers of civilization, Asiatics and Muslims. The reason he has the woman in his arms is because the woman is the nation. And I know you sisters know this. I was just on Great Seal study group, and you know, there was a lot of good information that was being kicked around. A brother by the name of Rami Hill, he asked some good questions. And one of them was, when do we start preparing our daughters? And the answer was, it was twofold answer. Number one, in the womb. Because there's no new seeds that are created. You have all the eggs. They're all there. Which means that the potentiality in all of them are there. And they've been there from the beginning. So all of the vibrations and things that affect you affect those. Just like if you stressed out, it can affect other parts and organs in your body, right? So, you know, the woman is the nation. The bloodline is traveled through the woman. Mother's baby, daddy's baby, right? In order to subjugate the Moors, they had to subjugate the woman. It was the woman who raised the slave, or the woman who raised the revolutionary. Now, it's hard for a woman to raise the revolutionary because her natural instinct, and they knew this instinctively, is to protect the child. And so the slave master threatened the child to keep the woman in check. And in turn, the woman would teach the child to be obedient because she don't want to see the child hurt. And this is how the perpetuation of slavery is perpetuated. Even to this day, you have when a brother or sister become conscious, and you have his own family that he have to go against them, or she have to go against. Sometimes children getting taken and caught up in social services and stuff because they're afraid. But that fear is instilled in them. That fear is the resonance of the fear of the slave master, slave owner, or holder, excuse me. Because they don't want that woman to be able to teach the child. So the man has an important role, but it's the woman who puts that vibration into the child. It's the woman that raises them up. It's the woman that has to say, hey, you know what? You got to stand up for your principles. I know you may get hurt, but I know you got to do what you got to do. Now, that don't mean, you know, be scientific. If you can do it without getting hurt, then do that. But it comes a time in every man and woman's life where that demarcation line has to be drawn, you know. So he put the sister on the front of the 101s. And then in the Circle 7, when you talk, it talks about Mary, right? And it talks about how she was prepared, you know. So you have to prepare yourself in order to be able to produce what's going to come out, you know, the young Moabitess or the young Moabite. So, you know, now in a general sense, if you just look, most organizations do not have women in leadership. You know, look how far the church had to fight to get so-called women in there. And just recently in politics, you know, but there's grand sheepesses, you know. So you have a role, you know, and a superior role. It's not a subservient role. Just the very fact that station is there. But like everything plays its part. And we can deal with the symbolisms of the sun and the moon. You know, the man being symbolic of the sun, and the woman being symbolic of the moon. The woman was the first moon, and I know a lot of people, that's cliche, the woman's the moon, that's 5%, yeah, that sounds cool, you know, that ain't worth science. Well, if you take the moon away, and you don't have no calendar, all you got to do is follow the menstrual cycle of the woman. Every 28 days, and you won't skip a beat unless there's an anomaly going on somewhere, right? So the woman is the first calendar, you know, and this is important. And when, you know, that she goes through this process, And it's a process of life, because I'll let the sisters teach you about menses more than I do, because but they know, and they can tell you more about that. But nature, you're in tune with nature. A lot of people say, well, like in Islam, in Islamic ritual, when women are on their menses time, they say, no, don't make salat. And a lot of people interpret it, or make prayer, interpret this as oh, see, that's not a bad thing. Why we can't do it? No, because you're already in submission. Nature's already happening. There's no need, That's a gift. And so the importance of women is really important. But it's mostly important. It's like, so, my children are homeschooled. All my children have been homeschooled. There's a brief point in time when some of them were in public school under my protest. But, and it really didn't do nothing but show them, give them alternative ways to act, which was negative. But, I say this, all my children learn how to read and write and do math and the basic things at home. My children are homeschooled now. It's important for the sisters and brothers, I participate in the homeschool in the fashion that I can, to really embrace that role and to rear their children and to stop sending them to the enemy. Because it's just like you say, it's just like if you say, here, take this medicine so you can get well. And then as soon as they go out and they go to school, they say, here, drink this poison. And what are they teaching them? Colonial history. The schools are what make the society. This is why I know at least that to change the people, you have to change their literature. Food. You also have to change the mind frame of the woman who's rearing them in those early years and in the womb through vibratory metamorphosis in that time, so that so that the child is, because that's the susceptible years when the child does mostly all the learning, is the first 7 years. That's a very crucial time. And the women have been charged with bringing these lives into the world, and they're equipped with everything to do it, irrespective of if it's a man around or not. And it's best to have a man around because it's a team. It's best to have a whole team around. Family, it takes a village. So I can't place enough emphasis on the role of the sisters. Now, in relationship to that, I do want to say this. We need to have more grand sheikesses in these temples. Because the temptation is too great for when a sister see the light of a brother, and and it's all right, go link up. We supposed to link up and stuff, but you have to be careful. You don't want to do it on no clandestine tip. You want to do it in front of the community. There's been a lot of instances where things have happened and it's went wrong, and sisters feel slighted and brothers feel slighted. Well, put it in front of the community and let it be a community thing. And with sisters coming in, it's a whole lot easier and better for them to be training with sisters initially. And have a support group of sisters to back their play to make sure there ain't no unscrupulous, dirty Moors gonna take advantage of it. So I say, sisters, be careful, open your eyes too, and don't lose none of the common sense that you came in with for those that are new when it comes to dealing, because we don't really get down like that. It can happen and it can go all right, but it can happen and it can go all wrong too. So these are real practical, important things that we need to think about.
Islam. I saw you look like you were going to move. No question?
Anything else? Don't be afraid, not afraid, but ask, because you never know. I could be here one day and gone the next. So can you. So let's take advantage of each other. And if there's no more questions, then yeah, I can bounce. But if there's some more questions, then I'm here for the time being.
I got one. With regard to, I'm a fan of testimonials. So, do you have a few testimonials with regard to people in the community or people in your travels that when you exercise that you're a Moor, that they verify, qualify our position and the reality of this thing called proclaiming our nationality, that we're not Negro, black, colored, African, Ethiopian, or whatever like that, that we're Moorish or Moorish American or any other derivative.
Islam. Yes, I wanna, before I say that, I do wanna say, brothers and sisters, remember that threat, duress, and coercion is real. And that when you're standing on your stuff, you're gonna have successes, and you may have some losses, and so far some minor battles as well. And then when you're dealing with the court, a lot of times Moors win on appeal, because the de facto system is really not trying to cooperate, with you sometimes. But if you do it right and you have the backing of your nation and stuff, it can go a whole lot smoother. Some testimonials. Number one, brothers, especially if you're new, put on a fez and walk down the street. Go to a place where there's people and put on a fez. You're automatically going to see there's going to be people from all walks of life that you wouldn't otherwise know of coming up to you. I was in the grocery store the other day. I didn't realize I had my fez on. I meant to take it off in the car because sometimes it attracts too much attention. I just wanted to just be undercover. But as soon as I went in there, all over, Europeans, oh, nice hat. They're pointing out, they know when they see you as your proper self, they're going to straighten up and act differently. When I was younger, especially when I was younger, 17, 18, was before 9/11, I never had a driver's license at all. I used my nationality card. Never had a problem from the police, po-pos, never. When I did start having problems, when people started doing things with nationality cards that they shouldn't be doing, then you started having to fight a little more. One of the main things that people are amazed of is when you go to court. And I remember, Cujo, you read about the Moors in Ceylon on one of your broadcasts from the Secrets of the Feds book on how the Supreme Court, they tried to ban them and the Moors protested and then they let it go. When Moors do things, we don't just go up and start protesting to do something and then that's it. There's no follow-up, there's no success. Or they come back talking about, no, we're not going to do that. And you see in that book in Ceylon, Moors, they were able to wear their fez. So I've been to court plenty of times for other people and for myself, and one of the basic things that the bailiff always try to do is make you take off your fez. They make everybody else take off their fez and their stuff, but never try to take the fez. If they do try to take the fez off, most of the time they look at the judge, and the judge is not like that, and the bailiff just sit down. It's not even a thing. So this is the first aspect of it. You already see the testimonials as far as people being tax exempt and tax free. That's real. That's true. I can get receipts and show you all that stuff too. But just in general, I want to say that it's being a Moor, but it's also having the character to match. This is important. You have to be in tune with what you are, because if you're walking around dressed as a Moor but you acting like a Negro, then you're going to get treated like a Negro. You have to practice your culture. When you say that you are something, you're putting it in trust with people that you are that, and when you say that you are Moor, they're going to trust that you act like it. And this is what gets the greatest result. Standing on your principles. I've been to court and I've won cases, and I've been to court where I've been coerced and supposedly lost and put in an appeal, and then the case just disappeared. So if you're looking for law examples of stuff like that, but just in general, the testimonial of my life is, as a Moor right now, is the reception of the people. And them recognizing the genuineness in my heart, and being able to, I take calls, so inbox me, Facebook, stuff like that. I talk to people all the time. It may take a second for you to get to me, but I'm accessible, and I would just there's a long line of cases that I can illustrate for people, and they're documented. I don't know personally, as far as getting respect as a Moor, that happens on a daily. I've had it in courts. I've had cases disappear. I've had, which is erroneous cases anyway. And pretty much I haven't had any problems from the law. Oh, I tell you one last thing that happened when we were driving across the country to the Million Man March to protest the last one, Justice or Else. We got pulled over in Iowa or someplace like that, and I was rolling with one of the Grand Sheiks and stuff. And he had his apostol, and they were trying to, because he was driving, he shouldn't have been driving, it was in my name or whatever. So they were basically going to, try to harass him and stuff like that and take him down. So I was able to get out the car with my fez on, and I gave my Moorish sign, and he motioned me, the Roman, he did like this too, and then motioned me back in the car. I know, let the Moor out the car, and got back inside, and then when he got back inside the car, he was telling me what they was talking about, and it was pretty funny, but so we're able to keep going freely. And especially because where we were, they actually, if you travel up and down the state, they want you to pay them right there. They jack you right there. If you don't have the money right there, you're going to jail. So that's the most recent testimony. This stuff does work. But now, if we was driving down the street, and I don't have anything against herb, if you got it legal, do your thing, if it's medicinal, how you doing it. But if we was just blowing herb and drinking alcohol and doing whatever, it may not work. Because now, you throwing your vibration off. Even though that it should work, that you should be honored and respected for who you are, period, you're opening up that moral back door, to be harassed. So you really want to act according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, especially if you demonstrate with a fez on or a turban or something like that, because if not, it's really, the universe ain't going to protect you, and then, yeah, you can end up in some situations. I also want to point out one thing as far as testimonials, one thing to point out with just something for people to look at if you're dealing with DMV and stuff like that. Just always look up the exemptions for everything. Look up the exemptions, and when you look up the exemptions, you're gonna see a lot of information that has, that just has to do. It's all right there under the exemptions.
Well, being that before we close out, being that this is your first class with Canaanland, everybody who does a first lecture, you need to get their advice or whatever just for the Moors in Canaanland, and also after that, if you can plug everything that you got, everything that you're doing, everything that you put out, how people can get it, how people can access you, so we could keep you supported for all the good work that you're doing.
Yes, much appreciated. Wait a minute. What was the first thing you asked before I plugged this stuff? Advice?
Yeah. Just a message to Moors in Canaanland or people in this jurisdiction coming into this information, that they should hear.
Islam. Well, I want to give honors to you, Brother Cosmo L, for the great work you do, and I would say that basically stick with the brother. He's doing good work. He knows a lot of things I don't know. I learn from him as well. We have to realize as Moors that we can learn different things. We have our own forte, and we don't have to know everything. And so it's important, and me and the brother and other people who are involved in the treaty project try to lead by example and show that Moors can have unity. And I would say that stick with the brother and seek unity. Be as unified as you can. Even with sometimes, you may not get along with a Moor. A Moor may be a dirty Moor. I'm not saying leak with him when he's a dirty Moor, but people can grow. And if you find that they've cut their ways and that the good outweighs, we have a lesson that says if the bad outweighs the good, all efforts must be made to cut away the unrighteous parts of his or her character. If the good outweighs the bad, then he or she must be cast from your midst. So this is the type of advice, love with one another, give each other time enough to try to help cut away the unrighteous parts of his or her character before you cast each other from your midst and separate. Because when you separate, you lose your power. And then secondly, promote programs of unity, even if people don't accept or to come to it, because sometimes you have people that are in different temples, and it might be their grand sheiks or their leaders, civic groups, also, RBG fam, everybody, it might be their leaders, and keeping a stranglehold on them. And just by you extending the hand and not being reclusive, you open up the door for somebody to come and receive that light. Also take a posture of active and not passive. Don't just be people that come and meet, and that's cool. If you meet and it's about studying and it's just about being scholastic, and if that's where you are, then understand that's cool. Make it known, and leadership should be, all right, this person is for that, so that you can be employed properly. But if you're able, take a posture of activism. Take a posture of doing charitable works in the community. Take a posture of mentoring youth. Take a posture of getting involved in local government. Take a posture of getting involved in civic organizations. Take a posture of getting involved in campus organizations, especially Black student unions, Pan-African student unions, and things of that nature, because that's where our people are, and that's where our people need the message. Also, there's a lesson that says that the wise man doubteth often and changeth his mind, and that the fool peepeth into the shadow stream of his own mind, and is pleased with the pebbles he seeth at the bottom. He bringeth them up and showeth them as pearls, and with the applause of his brethren delighteth himself. All right? Don't be like the fool casting out words and information for applause from your brother. It speaks of it says that the wise man is humble. It says the wise man doubteth often and changeth his mind. So be humble when you're dealing with brothers and sisters. It says that when we're dealing with someone that's ignorant or even coming at us foul, that we should hear with patience their impertinence and pity their absurdity. At the Great Seal lesson, we looked up what impertinence was, and it says, basically it was like their ridiculousness. Don't get mad. They're being ridiculous. So it says, pity their impertinence. Like, how when you see someone making a fool of themselves, you be like, ugh. You kind of just feel it like, oh, why they say that, or why they do that. That's the type of feeling we're supposed to feel. We're supposed to pity their impertinence. But be not puffed up with thine own conceit. For the clearest of human knowledge is but blindness and folly. This is from the Holy Instructions on unity. I'm talking about unity, and the brother pointed out in the study class the other day, not once does it mention unity in this lesson, but it teaches you how to be unified in the lesson, and it teaches you how not to be unified. In that lesson, the fool is the source of all our trouble. Be not like the fool, brothers and sisters. The wise man cultivates his mind with the knowledge of truth, and his utility to the public crowneth with honor. This means he's useful. In another lesson it says, content thyself with, in a lesson of inconstancy it says, content thyself with deserving praise, and thy posterity shall rejoice in hearing. So content yourself with the fact that you know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and don't be looking for the praise. The future generations will know who the OG is. And it says, back switching to the lesson of unity, it says the utility to the public crowneth with honor. It says, nevertheless, the attainment of virtue he accounteth as the highest learning, and the science of happiness is the study of his life. So all the things that you're learning, understand that the attainment of virtue is the highest one. So, always be striving for that. We're at various varying degrees of that. But it's more important how we interact with one another, because we set the stage. A lot of times, and whether it be I'm not going to name names, but we have a lot of leaders out there, and some of them I get disappointed sometimes because they put out so much great, wonderful information, and then they'll put that little jab in there, you know? And it's just the 3 little word lines that they really don't need to be in there, but end up becoming a source of contention for someone that might have otherwise been able to take that whole message. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop putting those. I know we feeling we're being forceful, and yeah, this is a time, that is a tactic when you jam someone up, but that can't be the cure. We have to come with more love in what we're saying. I'll give you an example. I started getting so riled up by these dirty Moors trying to attack me that one time someone asked me a question, and I ended up going off on him. And then he was like, oh no, I was just, and then I realized, like, wait a minute, I have to, change and look at it. So the other day somebody hit me up and asked me a question. He didn't ask a question, he made a comment. He said, somebody told me that Moors were the greatest race traders in blah, blah, blah. And so I was starting to go in on him in a nice way. And then I said, you know what? I said, you know what, brother, man knows not by being told. Study for yourself. If you like some help, inbox me and I'll show you. So then he inboxed me and he said, yeah, I really am interested in blah, blah, blah. We started talking. But my initial inclination in the back of my mind was to kind of hit him with a jab. Just hit him with a little slight jab, not a hard one, just a little. And had I done that, it might have went a whole nother way. So now I got a brother that I'm corresponding with, sending links and stuff, and he's ready to nationalize, So you catch more flies with, or I'm gonna say bees, because I don't know why we want to catch flies anyway. But you catch more bees with honey, and I know bees make the honey. But you get my meaning, Just be kind and cordial with one another, and be kind with other people. But when you gotta smack somebody down, smack them down and do it thoroughly and leave it at that. The second part of the question. If there weren't any other questions or anything, anyone have any last thoughts, I'll go ahead and start plugging some of these things that we can conclude.
Actually, I want to ask a few. It's in regards to Islam, Mari Bay again. I want to go back a little bit. In regards to, you were mentioning when Morocco gained their independence. There's a book that I read a couple of years ago. It's a book called 10 Years of Secret Diplomacy. Have you ever heard of that book?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Really good book. It's a book that chronicles the 10 years before 1913 when the French, the Spanish, Germany, and Britain, when they basically systematically broke down Morocco and took control of Morocco. In light of what happened back in 1930, because 1910, 1913 was the year when French took control of Morocco. I'm sure you know that. So, do you have any other information in regards to the breakup of Morocco at that time that I could reference?
I do. I only have about 5 or 6 of my books right here. But I believe in the secrets of the Fez. There's some information that I go over in that. And it's an article that I get. I can't remember the name right now, but it's an article produced, I think it's by UNICEF.
Okay.
If you look up UNICEF and the history of Morocco, and there's some information that goes in there, if it's the one that I'm talking about, and what you can do is email me or inbox me on Facebook, and I'll send you the article. But because it's by UNICEF, I'm pretty sure. Okay. And it goes into the breaking down of it, and it's them writing it.
Yes, so, yes. That's the book that I read as well too. It's like from beginning to end, how it happened, why it happened. It even led to World War I as well. Yes.
Now, and there's a lot of information in that, and so yeah, that would be a book that I recommend. It seems that you've already written it, there's some information what I would do is I would get back to you on
Okay.
that, because there is some good information on that. And I believe Cujo has some information where it talks about Moorish leaders that take you, because the information I'm going to give you is going to take you right up to that point, and then it's going to take you from Noble Drew Ali down, and he has books that go through that, which makes that information really relevant.
Exactly.
And then I also mentioned the Prince of Morocco, the Prince of Jordan, working for the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Yes.
I'll send you that article. That's floating around out there. You can probably Google that. And that's important because you have a lot of our Sunni Muslim brothers and stuff who say, well, no, we had it wrong, and he's Noble Drew Ali was a Dajjal, or he was a heretic, and these types of things. Well, if that's the case, then why is the Prince of Jordan over here, working for him? And then when you start going into look up the history of, look up the founding of Morocco by Fez, and then trace that back through to the Kingdom of Morocco. And then you're going to see that, wait a minute, this actually goes back, which is why we get our authority from Muhammad, from the Quran of Muhammad. This goes back to the time when the Prophet Muhammad is the one who was the only one that the new prophet rose up to challenge Rome. All right, because if you where's the book? In this book right here, where I tell you about the Egyptian mystery systems was closed in the 6th and 700s by Theodosius and Justinian. Emperor Theodosius and Justinian is when the Kemetic schools were finally closed in the 600s, right?
Yes.
When did the Prophet Muhammad rise up?
In the 1600s.
And what did he bring? What he brought is what the Moors brought up into Spain and established the Islamic Moorish kingdom.
Okay.
So you see the continuity, and then when did the Moors go into Spain? 711. It was less than 100 years. You see what I'm saying?
All right.
But when you look, you say, wait a minute, because you think like, well, we didn't hear, where was the Moors? What was going on before 711 AD? Well, research the Kingdom of Morocco and research the Kingdom of Mauritania. Because modern day Morocco used to all be a part of the Kingdom of Mauritania, which is where the word Moor comes from Mar. So when you start studying that, you'll see the Kingdom of, so if you want more information on Morocco and coming up to 1913, start studying the Kingdom of Morocco as well.
Okay.
And also the history of Senegal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and the kingdoms of Mali, Songhai, Ghana, North, South, Central Africa, or Northwest Africa, that whole history. So yeah, that would be what, if you link with me on Facebook, I can put together a little package, and we can collab on some stuff too. I'm collabing with the brother right now named when he spells it Al-Jamir or Al-Jamar. I believe it's Al-Jamir Bey. And the book Blackamoor that I just came out with, I'm doing a second edition. He has a collection of articles that he collected up on Blackamoor, painstakingly. He just collected them all, so I'm going to feature his gallery in that book. It's a lot of articles from back then. So once you start digging, you'll come across things. And in the end, I'll put together the care package. Inbox me in about 7 days. I'll send you some.
Word up. Thanks, God.
No problem.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mar, you could just go do your plugs or whatever you got.
All right. So, number one, I talked about Moorish American Griot. I do have a GoFundMe. If you go to my page or the Cosmo L Show on Facebook, it's a Facebook page. If you go to the Cosmo L Show, there's a GoFundMe for the improvements of the arts project. And this is basically to establish an arts and music studio for the youth, to be able to teach them the different skills and to bring in people to teach them the skills. And also to help finance more projects. So if you go to Cosmo L Show Facebook, or just link with me, Cosmo L on Facebook, inbox me, I can send you the link. And for those that want to contribute either equipment or things like, or money to get equipment, It's all tax-free write-off, of course. We produced the Treaty of Peace and Kinship. That's free on SoundCloud. Brother Cujo Ill's on there, Brother K-Ando Ill, a brother named by the name of iPod, Andy is Fresh. I'm sorry, I know I'm forgetting people. It's Rami Salam is on there. And yeah, it's just good. That's free. So go get that. I also have Moorish history on wax and stuff. So check out Cosmo L Beats on SoundCloud. Some of the articles, some of the blogs that I use are Moorish Times Journal and Cosmo L's blog. I want to give a shout out to Moorish American News. Lasana Tunika, I believe Ill is the one who puts that. He did an article in that, 7 questions to or more. Anybody wants to know more about me and my background and some upcoming projects, Moorish American News. I want to give a shout out to africaglobe.net, allblackmedia.com, and blackpepper.com for advertising my books and listing them as one of the 15 books that all so-called black people should read. You can go to Amazon and search Cosmo L, and all the books are listed there. I have about 14 books, so take your pick of the different types of books that you might want to check out. I want to give special honors to Victor Taylor Ill and Brother Shahid Ali Ill of the Give Thanks program, in which I sit on as a secretary for the outreach programs that that we're putting together. And look more for that soon. We're going to be having education and housing and homeless and medical for Moors. So that if a Moor is homeless or Moor needs medical attention, he can get it. And other than that, honors to Brother Cujo Ill. Honors to you, brothers and sisters, for taking the time to link with me and spend some time, invite me into your class. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I hope to meet with you guys some more. I hope that the information that I've provided is something that you're able to utilize and take away and build on. Anything that I said that I may have been mistaken on, get at me and I will correct if there are any mistakes. We're all human. And other than that, it's just an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk to my Moorish brothers and sisters over there in Canaanland. Islam, family.
Cosmo L. Peace and love, Mark.
Peace and love.
Good thanks, so we'll be in touch.
All right, Islamism.
Islam. Hit that light. So there's about the Cosmo. Another thing to plug. Gotta bring the book up. Yeah. Oh no, you got a book though. You got online or whatever.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Plus we're gonna, YouTube and all that stuff. And then you have something that you have to plug to.
Islam, fam.
Shine out.
Yeah, God said, you got a book called 27th Letters. You can check it out, 27thletters.com, 27thletters.com. The book is based on letters I wrote my daughter while I was incarcerated. And the compilation of letters I sent her while I was serving a life sentence, and it came from a perspective of a person who cared about his child. And I didn't know what the future held for me personally, but I needed to put some thoughts down. So it really came from a pure perspective. Like when I read it myself, some of these letters, some of the stuff I talked about, it's hard for me to even relate to it right now. It's crazy. So yeah, and that's about it. The book.
All right.
Got some other stuff working on. Got a movie I'm working on.
Script. So see, you have something to plug.
Yeah, I got a movie I'm working on. Yeah, and just because I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? I just want to get it done. You know what I mean? I work like that, So, but look out for the movie Instincts. It's gonna be hopefully a franchise, but it's written by one of the Moors, and a lot of the Moors gonna be in it. He's gonna be in it. He's gonna be in it. Ted's gonna be in it. It's gonna be beautiful. But look out for that Instincts.
All right. Islam. Next up.
Hi, Islam Roots K. Ajua L. Bay. I'm a hip hop MC and spoken word artist, and I have my first EP got done, official EP published, so it's here for sale in the back. We also have some t-shirts we printed up for some shows I did recently.
It'll be here from now on.
But it'll be here, so whenever. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
That's the EP cover.
So it's just, the cover of my EP, so they were promo for my show that I had a couple weeks ago. Yes. Islam.
Oh man, you selling something? You have something? Just read the card, man. Come on, man. Don't be shy, man. I heard you on the studio, man. I heard you, man. I heard you on the mic.
So we got some cards for our studio. I'm gonna hand them out for you guys.
We got some cards for an RPM studio, and I'm gonna hand them out.
All right. Are there any more questions or comments?
Islam fam. This is my homie right here, Kwesi. I've known him from a long time, you know what I mean? So from when we were youth, but recently he got a settlement, like he's been through a lot, you know what I mean? Like the settlement came at the cause of him getting to a hit and run. Like he got hit, was in a coma for like 2 days, and somehow he got a settlement through the city, and you already know. So like he went from like just being a regular man to like having some change in his account. So the vultures came, the vampires came, the lawyers. So he's dealing with this real estate stuff, which I'm not familiar with. And they've been gouging him like crazy. Like they told him to put a certain amount down for him for his condo that he recently got. We looked at the papers, come to find out it was only like half they put down. All this stuff is going on, and I don't know. He could tell you more about his life. I try to show him, and I've told him about what I do, what I stand on. He's seen some of my 7-part series. I'm familiar with with the freedom of travel, and I know about my nationality. And I'm telling him like this is how you're gonna protect yourself from these people, because right now they see him as food. And they just want to take everything from him, you know? So
you gotta look at it like they paid him out, but they're trying to recuperate it now.
Exactly, exactly.
They don't want him to hold it for too long.
Exactly. And they told him, they even told him themselves, saying, yo, there are people that want to see you lose these things, and it's really them.
Yeah, it's them, 100%.
It's really them.
Especially if they got paid off from the city, that corporation, they're gonna want to collect it back.
Yeah.
Some way, some shape, and especially when you look into real estate, and if the real estate's under the city, that's their business.
Yeah.
They get paid out of that. So of course they're gonna send their hounds on him to try to recuperate what they paid out.
It starts off with really because they already paid out. So if they already paid out, then you know what I mean. You have them on the hook, really. You know what I mean? And they're trying to get you to abandon what it is that they already gave up, right?
But now they have me going through this legal process now, right? Which I don't really know about.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like a big circle. We're all working together.
And that's what the whole thing is. So yeah, so that the perspective of you seeing that and recognizing that it's a circle, right? That they're, it's a serpent biting his tail, right? But the serpent biting his tail is eventually going to eat himself, which is where, you know what I mean, it's eventually going to get to it then. So, we could build on the one way, on the intricacies of it, but it ultimately comes down to the Jim Carrey movie Liar Liar, and recognizing that those people are vampires, and they don't have, no matter how much you give them, they work for the court. They work for the people who ran you over. They work for the people who, you know, gave you a house, gave you a condo, they work for those people. You know what I mean? And they're, just like brother saying, they recognize that the real currency is people who looks like us energy. It's not about the objects. It's really about them making us be 40 with full head of grays.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's where they're going to, because they are vampires.
It's like some kind of experiment they're trying to put on this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've experimented. They're perfect in the experimentation. You know what I mean? They've perfected it. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's like we always use the elder in the backs as an example, right? That he was in a area with properties. You know, he does mechanic work or whatever like that. And the people who were running the property were some Europeans. And everybody who has a property in there that's doing their business or whatever, they got that because these Europeans undermined who was there before, who were Asiatic people. And they just keep undermining people, and then those guys move out, they don't do nothing about it because, you know, Europeans, they're God and they're not going to go after their God. And then somebody else comes in and then they rape those people, and then those people get fed up and move out, and then some new people come in and then they rape those people, and that's how they've been living for the past little while, right? So then the brother came into knowledge of self about his nationality and birthrights and started standing up to them. You know what I mean? Not you know, irate, radical or nothing like that. Just letting them know I'm not the black guy that you guys been doing all this stuff to. Right? They tried to strong arm, they tried to change locks, they tried to do this, do that, do that. As soon as he took them to court, now they're begging him, calling down, oh yeah, we want to meet with you and talk about this or whatever like that. Well, we know the court date's coming up, could we change the date because we need some guys out of town and doing all this chicken with their head cut off running around. Only because he stood up. He didn't take the position of the slave position of just, oh God, do it to me again or whatever like that. He stood up to them. And as soon as you stand up to them, that lets them know that stuff's over. No more playing league.
And you have to let him know this is based on nationality.
Yeah.
He just didn't go there with his regular name. And that's what I'm trying to show for him, like, you gotta declare. Put up that shield. You know what I'm saying?
Because that is the protection. Because once we're like even with Brother Lana, we use that as an example, right? He's from the continent. He's not over here. He's from over here. But he's gravitating to what we deal with over on this side. And then it's working for him. So nobody has any excuse that they can't, whatever. Because the people who classify themselves as black, they don't even say that they're from over there. As far as a nationality. You know what I mean? Right? They don't even say that, you know, they claim that, oh yeah, West Africa, they're from a slave ship or whatever, but they don't claim that they're that. When you ask them, they say they're black. How come you guys aren't Ghanaian or whatever? If that's where you come from, that's your ancestry or whatever, right? So when you say that you have a nationality, right? Regardless of what it is, it don't even matter what it is. But if it's a nationality that you can go to UN, see a flag, you can go to Philadelphia, they got the Parkway, and then they got the flags, just everybody's flag on there, and you could point to one of those and say, yeah, I'm tied to that. Then these people really can't deal with you on the level that they've been dealing with us, because their position is to make everybody denounce that they have a nationality, or make it seem like oh, that doesn't mean nothing, that's not important, just be Canadian, just be United States citizen, just be black, Negro, colored, call yourself whatever, it doesn't matter. But Chinese don't say that they're yellow people, and Indians don't say that they're brown, and Sri Lankans don't say that they're brown, and you know, the purple people don't say that they're purple and all that stuff.
It's funny you bring up Sri Lankans, because the people that are doing this to him, they have them people on that like the agents, the lawyers, but they're Sri Lankans.
Right.
So they recognize that you're just a black person, and he's gonna deal with you.
Wow. Yo, come on with that Moorish energy.
One nationalized, they're gonna back down because they recognize you for who you are, but they don't know you right now.
Even if you try a thing with them, go on YouTube and look up tying or wrapping a turban, right? And then one day when you go meet with those people, just wrap your head in a turban. And look how different they deal with you. Opposed to you just going there just like, you know, regular black guys.
One of the lawyers I had to go, like that was really pressing him, I had to go back and down with him the other day. You know what I mean? Fessed up, I even told fans, I'm like, I'm gonna deal with this lawyer right now. They're trying to extort him for like $1,500. He didn't do nothing for him. So I'm like, yo, I went in there, sat there for like 10 minutes, they both talking, because he's trying to get him to just say, yo, you're not my lawyer anymore, because he wants to do his own case. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there and I start talking to the so-called to the agent, and he looks at me as though, based on what I was saying, he's like, are you a lawyer? Yes. I'm like, nah, I got my nationality card though, and I gave it to him and he dropped it right away. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we got accomplished what we came there to get accomplished. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? That's how different it is. You know what I mean? It's that different.
And even on that level, like if fam goes with you to these little things or whatever, right? And do exact same thing. Zip the lip. He's just there just to be a presence. As soon as they start talking stuff that seems kind of funny or whatever, you know, unzip. Yo, you know you guys blah 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 blah. These guys shut the hell up.
Wasn't I asking him real questions and he couldn't answer me? When I told him a simple thing, it's like, yo, use a red pen and put all right reserved, you know, sign something. Yo, you know what the man said? No, he can't use a red pen. I'm like, yo, why can't he use a red pen? No. Are you a lawyer? What do you know?
Right?
Frazzle.
And trouble.
And it's gonna come across to our people who don't have this knowledge, like he's the one that's being rebellious and he's the one that's causing problems or whatever like that, when
not the case.
That's not the case. He's really standing up for what these people are supposed to be standing up for. Yeah. But now if he's playing their hand, now they don't have a hand. Like they have no hand now, which means that they weren't even in the game. And if they were in the game, like why are you guys even why am I even giving you guys anything or whatever? You know what I mean? But it's like we were talking about earlier, it's a detox. You know what I mean? We have to detox ourselves. You know what I mean? We have to get, it's an exorcism. It's an exorcism. Once we, the more we detox, the more we realize that these people, it's take a step back. The more you detox, they take 2 steps back. The more you detox, they take 5 steps back. The more you detox, you realize that they're way down there yelling at you like, you need to pay your stuff or whatever like that. And at that point, you guys are way down there. What you say or whatever? You know what I mean? And then at that point you're clear. You know what I'm saying? But we'll build on one with certain things and
you can
assist with that.
For anybody that's in the same situation too, you can also add the dissolvency letter. The dissolvency letter. The dissolvency letter is the letter that it tells the whole of corporate Canada their powers are dissolvent. They're they're null and void right now.
Yeah, or revocation.
No, it's not the Clearfield Doctrine. It's the dissolvency letter. You'll see it's a letter from the World Court to Canada and all corporations under Canada and acting as Canada. So they have a letter, and then you're able to put your name and then file it with them. So then anything that you have are doing with anybody, they know that their powers are null and void right now. Right?
So
How do I
Just Google it. You can Google it, or I'll forward it to you. Yeah, I'll forward it to Google.
Because the whole thing is consent.
Yeah.
Right? All they want is your consent. Whether it's verbal, physical, you just do say nothing, right? Or acquiescence. You say nothing, then they're going with whatever they say. But as soon as you say, hold on a second, let me just take this to whatever, let me read this over before I sign or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden they don't want you to leave with the paper. You gotta sign right now.
They don't want you to.
They don't want you to look over anything or whatever like that because you know what I mean? They know what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's a good game that they got running.
Right. To add on to that, what you also have to realize is that if you're in a position where you're using a lawyer, they already have you. You see what I'm saying? Because you're already stating the fact that, listen, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna put my business in your hands for you to take care of. The way we look at things is you study for self. So whatever situation that you're in, it's gonna be very specific. So there's not gonna be like a general, this is what you do. So based on your own situation, you're gonna need to look into your situation, look at the problem and study the problem so that you can eliminate the need of a lawyer, because whatever business, whatever affairs you're dealing with, as competent men, we're supposed to be able to deal with them personally. We should need to go to someone for them to deal with the situation. Not saying everybody's 100% knowledgeable in all things law, but especially when it's a situation pertaining to you specifically, out of anybody, you're gonna know that situation best. So the only thing you should be getting from people is advice, but never something like, yo, this is what you do, how you should do it, because your situation is different and you know your situation. So it all comes back to you studying your own situation, seeing what the issue is, and then figuring out a way to address that issue without needing, let's say, a lawyer or whatever, whatnot, because those guys are just thieves.
Fam, it's so bad, the theory that they did to Fam so bad that they're trying to get him into a position where he gets upset and does something stupid.
Exactly.
Right.
So they could just recoup everything and have him locked up.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm trying to show you though, like, don't get upset, fam. Like, it's not like.
Don't get upset. Get knowledge, man. Get knowledge of the situation, and then once you have the knowledge of that situation, then you start slowly dropping it on them, and then you'll see who's getting upset. You'll see who's starting to really get upset.
You'll see who'll get upset. Just like with the thing with the red pen. You know what I mean? Right? These guys got mad because he wanted to use a red pen.
He was there, the man was dragging the paper from him. No. My family's just like, no, back down. I'm like, no, chill. It ain't like you guys gonna be going wild in here. Yo, I have a red pen here. Sign the $10.
That's it.
So one of the things is what they know is that us being ourselves is a term called impropria persona. Impropria persona, right? So even that, if that's something that when they start coming up, you ask them, are you impropria persona dealing with me, or are you something else? Right? So this is impropria persona. In one's own proper person. So as Negro, black, color, African, whatever like that, we're not improper person. Right? We're not really who we say that we are. We're actually something that we're not. And we want to get treated like we're being who we are. When they know that we're not being who we are. They know that we're not impropria persona. Right? And once we're not impropria persona, that means somebody else is able to say, tie your shoelace, zip up your jacket, take that hood off, take that hat off, whatever like that. Sign here, slide you a paper, you sign, they don't sign. And all these things that seem to be just, regular things to us is really them violating us, right? But on top of impropria persona, it says that it is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled impropria persona, because if pleaded by an attorney, they admit the jurisdiction. Right? So once you have an attorney, like the brother said, you agree to all the BS that they do to you, you agree to it just by having an attorney. Just because you said I hire that guy to be my attorney, you agree to all the BS that they do, right? They admit this jurisdiction. As an attorney is an officer of the court. So so anybody who says that I'm a lawyer or whatever like that, they work for the court. Period. They work for the court.
Yeah.
They don't work for who's paying them.
So you see when you got
No matter how much you pay them.
So you see when you got the settlement, all of them, all of a sudden a real estate agent showed up at the man's door, he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
Talking about, yeah, I could get you this.
But remember, that's
All
the
them-
whole recuperation.
Yeah,
They know
yeah,
what happened.
yeah,
Hold on, we paid them
yeah.
out. Yo, listen, send out the hounds.
Send out the hounds.
Let's go collect that
Go
back.
collect everything back.
Because on the face of it, they want to make it look like they did something just.
Yeah.
Oh, you got hit? Don't worry, we'll take care of that because we're righteous people.
Exactly.
And then on the back end, they're like,
They were
they're
nice to
sitting
him,
back,
all
they're
nice
like,
to him. They played the game to the team,
Yeah.
all nice to him for the money.
But we know this as more. We know this. We know their game, right?
If pleaded by an attorney, they admit to the jurisdiction as an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave. Right? So when you hire the lawyer, you're basically saying that I have nothing to do with this situation. That guy who I hired, he's dealing with everything for me.
You don't know anything.
And he doesn't know anything about the situation at all. But our perspective, you know what I mean, is, well, you know, I paid him.
You went to law
He
school.
says that he's a lawyer, you went to law school, so, you know, I mean, what does he need to know about the situation? Like, you know, he's gonna go in there and do everything. And everybody, whoever hires one of them, everybody always has one instance with a lawyer when they say, why you do that? I didn't tell you to do that. Like, who you working for? What side do you on? Everybody has one instance. Once they hire a lawyer, they have that one instance, right? And then that's the thing that's supposed to make that individual say, you know what? I'm gonna do this myself. You know what I mean? Fire that guy, and then you deal with it yourself.
And to add on to the proper persona, to give that more clarity is proper persona meaning, like, for instance, if I have my straw man being, like, let's say the name that's on government issue ID, and I go into the de facto courts and I say, yo, this is who I am, the same name that's on the ID, that's not being a proper persona. Whereas as being proclaimed Moors, you go in there, for instance, I'd be like Merrick Al-Shabazz Bey. Right off the bat, they know I'm in proper persona because Bey isn't attached to the appellation Bey isn't attached to any of their family names. It's not attached to any European family names. So they know, okay, well, this Moorish individual's quote unquote black person, he obviously knows himself. And just knowing yourself is being in proper persona once you know yourself, right? Because if you're going into their so-called courtrooms with a name that reflects, let's say, the European, then they know for a fact you don't know who you are. So you could never be in proper persona.
We're confused. Yeah.
And then another key too is that it's not something that like you're hearing what's being said, right? And then you're gonna take what's being said and apply that. Like it takes you having what knowledge where he has, knowledge where I have, knowledge that he has, knowledge our brother has back there, knowledge that our brother has, and then applying it. Right? But remember that there's always a leeway, right? Like they always give you some distance, right? They're never just gonna clamp on you unless you let it. But you can say, you know what, I need 30 days or whatever to think about this. In that 30 days, you get with all of us or whatever like that, study certain things, get some concepts right or whatever. So next time you see them, they need another 30 days just because,
exactly.
you know,
take another
still
30
not really clear about this stuff that you gave me or whatever like that. Give me a little more time or whatever, you know. Because remember, they already did their part of paying you off. And their job is to try to get everything back, right? By any means that they can do it. You know what I mean? Because it's really, they really paid you out your own stuff. Exactly. Like it's not really their stuff that they have a vault and then they went into the vault and they said, okay, you know, write him a check in his name and then now here's the check from our vault. It's really all your stuff or anyway that they just gave you, right? And now they're trying to take your stuff again.
it might even be a little bit deeper too, because it's like, let's say the brother has some idea that's gonna put him on a level where he's able to do things that, let's say, the regular quote unquote black person wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
And bring some quote unquote other black people into a position of some sort of power.
Yeah.
They don't want that to be because of them. Like, yo, we paid him out, and now he's doing all these great things for all these people.
Right.
So what they're gonna do is they're gonna really rush the situation. So if you feel like there's a lot of pressure, like they're coming at you consistently, things need to get done now, it's because they don't want you to get into a position where you start figuring things out. So they want to get it back before you figure it out. Because what happens, a lot of people figure it out when they already lost everything.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, so that's what was going on. But by that time, it's too late.
With you, it's the reverse.
Exactly.
You're figuring out, you got everything. You're like, hold on a second. So you mean that, you know, lawyers are fraud and court was a fraud and all these people ran fraud, but then on the other end of it, they did something that they don't really do like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he wasn't even expecting all that.
They wasn't even
He
expecting.
was like, maybe I get a little change, a few stacks.
Right? Yeah.
But they give him, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but the main thing is when you're engaging them, regardless of whether you have the knowledge completely or not, that you address yourself when you deal with them. You address yourself that I'm a Moor, and whatever name you have, you put L on it or Bay on it, and start moving in that direction. Because you already have everything. You know, like you don't have nothing to lose. You know what I mean, by doing that. Whereas, you know, like other people who have nothing, them doing that might put them further back. But because you're ahead of the curve, you could do that without even having the knowledge, and as you're moving, then you get the knowledge as you're moving ahead. But it's all about letting them know that you're not in some nigger state that they can just do whatever or whatever like that. Anytime you go whenever, you got somebody that's coming with you that has the knowledge that you can say. You can address them as you can address them as
Do directly from the middle.
consul,
Not council. Council.
right? Not not that, right? So you can say, you know, when they say, is he a lawyer or whatever? Nah, he's my consul. What do you mean he's your consul? He doesn't have a bar card. No, I didn't say that I didn't say he's my this. I didn't even spell it out for him on the paper. I never said he's my this. I said he's my this.
Jurisdiction.
Right? Because you're allowed, you don't have to pay to have this. This could be any body that has knowledge that you know could be your this. This guy is a paid, a hired help.
You see the word. You see the word.
Which one? This one?
I know there's an ear on
Oh,
both.
yeah.
Is there an ear on both? No, I mean like if you...
No.
We used to say counselor.
You could say that? Oh, AR.
Yeah.
You add that next L to that, you can see the cell. They're trying to sell you something.
Right. And then that's really
The con in the
pronounced.
cell?
Con.
It's all in the con.
And that's really pronounced that.
And even if you take out the con with the solar, it's solar, so it's sun,
Right.
SOLAR.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the sun is supposed to represent you, but you're supposed to represent the sun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's you there
Yeah,
versus the con.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's many different ways to look at words, man. Yeah, it is.
To add on to that, because I did that with when
Solar.
brother Tyreek and Supreme went to the court there.
Yeah.
Constellation.
There, I was speaking with the duty council,
How does it look?
and I was saying, listen, I'm counsel for my brothers, and you guys just can't be doing what you guys are doing, right? And then she sat down with me and she said, well, you know, before I go home today, I'm gonna do it the best I can. I won't leave home. I won't leave and go home till I get this sorted out. And then she said to me, she's like, see, your regency and our regencies, because I mentioned regency.
Right.
She mentioned that we always have differences, so we can't really see eye to eye with no situations.
Yeah, because they're the factum with the jure.
Yeah,
Never
yeah,
gonna see
yeah.
Never gonna see that.
These guys are pirates.
Yeah. Right. So and it's like the example that the master teachers give, that, you know what I mean, when you if you play ignorant and then you go in dirty water or whatever, and then you come out, you know, swim from one bank to the other bank, and then you come out with all these black stuff on you, those are leeches. So you just swam with the leeches. Now the leeches are on you. But you know what I mean? It's you're gonna chill and the leeches on you, or you're gonna start, you know what I mean? Either get the blade, pull them off, you know what I mean? You might lose some of your skin or whatever, but that's part of that's part of what you gotta
do with a
do.
little pain, let's
You know what I
get
mean?
some knowledge.
Yeah.
We'll put knowledge in the form of salt. You know, you dash some salt on the leeches.
Put some salt on the leech, you know what I mean? They're shriveled up or whatever. You know what I mean? But don't look at it like you're the one at fault or whatever, and because they're the lawyers and they're doing stuff right, and then you're doing stuff wrong. You know what I mean? And then you have to hire them so stuff could get right, because there's got to be one lawyer who, you know what I mean, is gonna see eye to eye with me. No, that ain't happening. Only lawyer that's gonna see eye to eye with you is your consul or yourself.
And your consul's your brother, so he's not gonna cost you nothing. You know what I mean? Whereas in the council, he's easy. Every time you turn around, it's gonna cost you something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are charging you for templates, because the bar association has their templates. So they're just throwing your name in there, telling you 5 bills, $1,000.
And the key with knowing is so that they can't put the blindfolds on you, right? And have you stumbling around trying to figure out how this thing goes or whatever, you know, because their whole position is to make sure that our people stay dumb as ever. Make sure our people stay dumbed down, make sure our people have no idea about, you know what I mean, what's really going on in the world. We just stick to our illusions that we believe that that's what's going on in the world. When real deal, anybody, you know, like we said already, Jim Carrey came out and told people. Everybody said, that movie sucked, and you know what I mean? You know he's talking about in that movie or whatever like that. Liar. You know?
The Truman Show's up there too. Truman Show, same thing.
Same idea.
Same thing. You better wake up.
You know what I mean? Same idea. It's all a game. It's all a charade. You know, they got you know, suit or whatever. They got the shoes that go plunk, plunk, plunk. Everybody think that, yeah, those guys are the guys or whatever. When all those guys are vampires, leeches, bloodsuckers, whatever.
And you know, I was telling him that even growing up, we were also taught to hold this position in high esteem. We all become a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
But not knowing that, to be the best at those things, you gotta be a piece of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like a real piece.
Gotta be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Alright. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add on to that. But yeah, so next Sunday, you got any word on next Sunday? Because next Friday, Saturday, Sunday is supposed to be in North Carolina. Supposed to be lecturing with Setenra Bey, Taj Tariq Bey, Alim Bey, Sister Raz, Mizraim, the whole crew.
Okay. Well, okay. So on Friday,
Knowledge.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Friday. I'm gonna have the temple open on Friday coming. I think it's the 8th to 8th, right?
Yeah, 8th.
Yeah. So we're just gonna be showing a movie. And then after we're done, we just break down the movie. I'm gonna try and consistently do that either every other Friday or on a monthly basis. I'll pick whichever Friday we're gonna do. But we're gonna try and keep the temple open as often as we can.
And if you're not on the email list, get on the email list. So you can get flyers and stuff like that. What's going on?
Yeah. But I'll send it out.
Okay, cool. That's good. And April 16th.
Yeah.
April 16th. We're gonna be in Pickering
Yeah, Pickering.
Brock 1080 Brock Road. I can't remember the unit. You know what the unit is?
No.
It's on the flyer.
But yes, there's
Unit 10.
Unit 10. All right, yeah. So 1080 Brock Road, Unit 10.
It's not 80, it's 50.
No, it's 80. It's 80. Which I got the correction.
Oh,
it's 80.
okay.
There's another flyer. There's a new flyer. Yeah,
Oh,
1080.
Okay.
There was we got connected with some Hebrew Israelites who wanted to find out some more about the information. You know what I mean? And then what we want to do actually is we want to continue doing these unity summits with all the other groups.
The Israelites, the ICI.
I'm not even sure which ones. Just
United in
yeah,
Christ.
the ones that we know are the ones that want to link are called End Time Disciples.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know which branch they're part of or whatever like that.
Wait, there's different Israelite groups.
Yeah. Yes.
One called.
There's different groups of everything. There's different groups of everything.
Yeah.
Everything, there's always a different group of something. That was much
Shit. So we want to try to connect with all the different groups. The theme of it is Unity Summit, where we're accessible for whatever group to ask us questions relative to, you know what I mean, dealing with Moorish nationality birthrights. But our question to them is what it is that deters them from proclaiming the nationality. Like, that's the message that we want to relay to them. Like, what is it that's making you keep saying that you're black? Why are you not gravitating towards a nationality? We're not even saying Moorish. We're just saying generally, like what is it that's not making you say you're Ghanaian, Nigerian? If you're Rastafarian, you should be Ethiopian. It's not supposed to be a question. What's your nationality? Ethiopian, because you're Rastafarian. Like it, you know what I mean? If you're chematologist, your nationality should be Egyptian. You know what I mean? Don't tell me it's black, whatever, or you know what I mean? Make up something. You know, it has to be tied to some type of nation that has a landmass that exists today. You know, I mean, we say that we're Moors because landmass we're representing is Morocco. So, what's up with everybody else? And if they show up, they show up. If they don't show up, then we realize that, you know, people are either that gone or they're working with the other side to keep our people deaf, blind, and dumb. Because there's no option.
I don't see why there's so much different groups in one Israelite, like that name Israelite.
Yeah, it's with you know, like it's same thing. Even with NOI, even with Moors.
Same thing with us, no?
Same thing with us.
Different
You got
views. I don't see how you
that-
see things. So we're not different group.
No, but
You know what I mean?
No, you and me don't see things eye to eye. So you're gonna have a group over there, I'm gonna have a group over here.
It's factions.
well, you're dealing with facts, so you got more shrine temples. We're all dealing with the same thing, no?
Yeah, but there's still
There's
different perspectives even even amongst us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But with us, all of us at least are Moors.
I can agree.
All of us have a nationality. You know what I mean? It might be, we might have different perspectives, but everybody flies this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody has the same headwear and stuff like that. You look at the other people,
Different
they're
stuff.
more scattered,
Some
Right.
play He-Man, some play G.I. Joe.
right?
And,
So-
and there's no, like the brother Cosmo was saying, like the last name that we fell under is that name more, so that's the name we have to rise under. So that's the last documented anything of what we did as a people before we became Negro, Black, and Colored was under that title and that banner. So we're at least more protected being that, and have a better, even if there's separation within in the Moorish and Divine National Movement, we're still more protected because we have an inheritance. Better off than all these other groups who are bickering and fighting over things that hold no weight, and they have no stand out, you know, no, they can't get nothing from being all these different part of these different groups. Is, yeah.
Right, so we'll just close out. And this for those who wanna, you know, see this again, it's gonna be up on YouTube. Should be on YouTube by tomorrow. Face the east, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom.
And
justice.
justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
And
my salvation. By night. And by day.
To
His holy prophet.
Noble Jew Ali.
Islam.